When 30-year-old CEO Sierra Val hired a single father to pretend to be her boyfriend for one weekend, she thought she was buying convenience. She didn't expect his 6-year-old daughter to nearly die in her arms. She didn't expect corporate enemies to turn a fake relationship into a real battlefield. And she certainly didn't expect to fall in love with the one man who could see through every wall she'd ever built. This is a story about power, deception, and the family that forms when everything falls apart. Stay until the end, hit that like button, and comment your city so I can see how far this story travels. The conference room on the 43rd floor smelled like expensive leather and cold ambition. Sierra Vale sat at the head of the table, fingers steepled beneath her chin, watching her executive team squirm through the quarterly projections. Her dark suit was tailored to perfection, her posture radiating control. At 30, she ran Apex Solutions like a general commanding troops, efficient, demanding, merciless when necessary. Revenue's up 18%, her CFO announced, sliding the report across polished mahogany. Sierra didn't smile. She never smiled in these meetings. Margins? 7.3. Not good enough, her voice cut through the room. Marcus is pulling 8-2 at Helix Corp. We're not here to be second best. The CFO shifted in his seat. We're outperforming every projection I don't care about our projections. I care about theirs. She stood, ending the meeting with her movement. Fix it. They filed out like school children dismissed early. Sierra watched them go, then turned to the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. 43 floors up, the world looked manageable. Small. Controllable. Her phone buzzed. A text from her mother. Landing Friday at 3 p.m. Can't wait to meet him. Your father's so excited. Finally, our Sierra with someone special. Sierra's jaw tightened. She'd made the mistake 3 months ago during a wine-soaked video call, letting slip that she was seeing someone. Her mother had latched onto it like a lifeline, desperate for proof that her daughter's life contained something besides spreadsheets and shareholder meetings. The lie had grown legs. Now her parents were flying in from Portland for the weekend specifically to meet this fictional boyfriend. She tried to walk it back, claimed he was traveling, said things were casual. But Margaret Vale was a force of nature when she wanted something, and what she wanted was to see her only daughter happy, or at least her version of happy, which involved a man, stability, and the promise of grandchildren before she turned 65. Sierra had 3 days to produce a boyfriend. She pulled up her contacts, scrolling past colleagues, clients, and a handful of men she'd dated briefly before realizing they either wanted her money or couldn't handle her schedule. None of them would work. None of them would be convincing. She needed someone real, someone genuine enough to fool her mother's radar, someone desperate enough to say yes. The hiring agency was discreet, the kind of place that didn't advertise online. Sierra had learned about it from a colleague who'd once hired an escort for a business function. Professional, clean, no complications. The office was tucked into a quiet building downtown, 3rd floor, unmarked door. Inside, a woman named Diane greeted her with the calm efficiency of someone who'd seen every variation of desperation. I need someone for a weekend, Sierra said, settling into the chair across from Diane's desk. Family event, parents visiting, believable boyfriend type. Diane didn't blink. Budget? Not an issue. Specific requirements? Sierra considered. Mature, grounded, someone who won't oversell it. I need believable, not theatrical. Diane nodded, typing notes into her computer. We have several candidates who fit that profile. Give me an hour to pull files. Sierra spent that hour in a coffee shop across the street, answering emails and trying not to think about how surreal this was. She ran a multi-million-dollar company. She'd closed deals with some of the sharpest minds in the industry. And here she was, hiring a stranger to lie to her parents. When she returned, Diane had 3 folders waiting. These are our top matches based on your criteria. Sierra flipped through them. The first guy looked like he'd walked off a cologne ad, too polished, too aware of his own attractiveness. The second had amateur actor listed under previous experience, which felt like a red flag. The third folder made her pause. The photo showed a man in his early 30s with dark hair that looked like it had been cut at home, a slight shadow of stubble, and eyes that seemed tired but kind. His smile was small, like he wasn't used to being photographed. Ethan Cole, Diane said, 32. Single father, works part-time as a contractor while raising his daughter full-time. He's done a few jobs for us, corporate events, charity functions. Feedback is always excellent. Professional, reliable, great with people. Single father? Sierra looked up. 6-year-old daughter. He's very upfront about it. She's his priority. Most clients appreciate the authenticity it brings. He's not pretending to be something he's not. Sierra studied the photo again. There was something about him that felt solid, unglamorous, real. Does he bring the daughter to jobs? Never. He arranges childcare. But if you're looking for someone who can play the role of a stable, caring partner, the fact that he's a father adds credibility. Sierra made her decision. I want to meet him, but... They scheduled it for the next morning at a neutral location, a quiet diner on the edge of downtown where business people didn't typically venture. Sierra arrived first, sliding into a corner booth with her back to the wall. Ethan Cole walked in exactly on time. He was taller than she expected, broader in the shoulders. He wore jeans and a flannel shirt that had seen better days, work boots that were scuffed but clean. He spotted her immediately and crossed the diner with an easy, unhurried stride. Ms. Vale? Sierra. She gestured to the seat across from her. Thanks for coming. He sat, folding his hands on the table. Up close, she could see the faint scar along his jawline, the calluses on his palms. This was a man who worked with his hands, who fixed things, who existed in a world far removed from hers. Diane said you needed someone for a family thing, he said. His voice was low, steady. Parents visiting? Friday through Sunday. They're flying in from Portland. I need someone to play the part of a boyfriend. Dinners, maybe a brunch. Nothing complicated. Ethan nodded slowly. Why me? The question caught her off guard. Most people would have jumped at the job, asked about payment, confirmed details. He was asking why. You seem real, she said after a moment. Everyone else Diane showed me looked like they were trying too hard. You don't. Something flickered in his expression. Amusement, maybe, or appreciation. I've gotten good at not trying too hard. A waitress appeared, poured coffee. Neither of them had ordered, and disappeared again. Ethan added cream and sugar like he had all the time in the world. What's the story? He asked. How'd we meet? How long have we been together? Sierra had prepared for this. We met 4 months ago at a charity event. You were doing carpentry work on the venue. We started talking, hit it off. We've been seeing each other since, casually at first, but it's gotten more serious. Carpentry work at a charity event. He smiled faintly. That's specific. It needs to be believable. Fair enough. He took a sip of coffee. What are your parents like? My mother talks a lot. My father doesn't talk much, but notices everything. They're good people. They worry about me. Because you work too much? Because I work too much and don't have time for anything else. She met his eyes. They think I'm lonely. Are you? The question landed harder than it should have. Sierra felt something tighten in her chest, a defensive reflex she'd honed over years of boardroom battles. That's not relevant to the job. Ethan didn't push. He just watched her, his expression neutral, and she realized he'd already figured out the answer. I need to bring my daughter, he said. Sierra blinked. What? Lily. She's 6. If I'm going to be tied up all weekend, I can't leave her with a sitter that long. She comes with me, or I can't take the job. That wasn't part of the agreement. It is now. His tone wasn't aggressive, just matter of fact. Look, I get that this complicates things, but I don't do anything that takes me away from her for more than a few hours. That's non-negotiable. Sierra stared at him, recalculating. A child changed everything. It added layers of complexity she hadn't anticipated. But as she thought it through, she realized it might actually help. Her mother would love the idea of Sierra dating a father. It would feed into every nurturing instinct Margaret Vale possessed. She'd have to stay out of the way, Sierra said carefully. I can arrange accommodations, but this is about convincing my parents, not entertaining a 6-year-old. Ethan's expression cooled. She's not a prop, and she's not a problem. If you're worried she'll ruin your performance, then maybe I'm not the right fit. I didn't say that. You were about to. They locked eyes across the table. Sierra wasn't used to being challenged, especially not by someone she was hiring, but there was something in the way Ethan held his ground that she respected, even if it irritated her. Fine, she said. Bring her. But I need you to understand this is a business arrangement. I pay you, you play the role. We both walk away when it's over. Clean and professional. Ethan extended his hand across the table. Deal. She shook it. His grip was firm, warm, and calloused in all the places hers wasn't. The next 2 days were a blur of preparation. Sierra booked a suite at the Grand View, one of the city's top hotels, with adjoining rooms. She arranged for Ethan and Lily to stay in one, her parents in another, herself in the master. She had her assistant compile a dossier on Ethan, basic background, work history, nothing invasive, but enough to make sure there were no surprises. Clean record. Married young, divorced 3 years ago. Full custody of his daughter. Worked as an independent contractor doing renovations and restorations. Lived in a modest apartment across town. No red flags. She also compiled notes for him, details about her life, her company, her family, things a boyfriend would know. She sent them over in a PDF late Wednesday night. His response came an hour later. Read it. Got it. Lily's excited about the hotel. She's never stayed anywhere with room service. Sierra stared at the text. There was something disarming about it, the simplicity of a child's excitement cutting through all her careful planning. She didn't respond. Bahat. Friday arrived with the weight of inevitability. Sierra left work early, something she never did, and drove to the hotel to check that everything was in order. The suite was immaculate, flowers on the table, champagne chilling, views of the city stretching out like a promise. Ethan and Lily arrived at 2. Sierra was waiting in the lobby when she saw them walk in. Ethan carrying a small duffel bag, Lily clutching a stuffed rabbit that had seen better days. The girl had dark curls like her father, wide brown eyes, and a blue dress that looked slightly too big. Sierra, this is Lily, Ethan said as they approached. Lily, this is Ms. Vale. Hi. Lily's voice was soft, shy. Sierra crouched down to the girl's eye level, a gesture she'd seen in movies but had never actually performed. You can call me Sierra. That's a nice rabbit. Lily hugged the toy closer. His name is Clover. That's a good name. Ethan watched the exchange with an expression Sierra couldn't quite read. She stood, brushing off her slacks, suddenly aware of how awkward she felt around children. Let's get you settled, she said, leading them to the elevator. The suite seemed larger with them in it. Lily immediately gravitated toward the windows, pressing her hands against the glass and staring down at the city below. Ethan set their bag down and surveyed the space with the practiced eye of someone who'd spent his life evaluating structures. This is nice, he said simply. My parents' flight lands in an hour. We'll meet them for dinner at 7. That gives us time to go over the story one more time. We've got it. Lily needs to... I've already talked to her, Ethan interrupted gently. She knows we're helping you with something important. She won't say anything that'll mess it up. Sierra glanced at the girl, who was now examining the room service menu like it was a treasure map. She understands this is pretend? She's 6, not stupid. There was an edge to his voice now, protective. I didn't mean, I know what you meant. He softened slightly. She'll be fine. Trust me. Trust. The word felt foreign in Sierra's mouth, something she extended rarely and retracted quickly. But she didn't have much choice now. Okay, she said. Dinner at 7. Casual but nice. They'll want to talk, get to know you. Just follow my lead. Ethan nodded. What about Lily? There's a kids' menu. She can sit with us. She's got her inhaler, right? Ethan turned to his daughter. Lil, where's your inhaler? Lily patted her small backpack. Right here, Dad. Good girl. Sierra filed that information away. Asthma, inhaler, something to be aware of. Another complication she hadn't planned for. Okay. Her parents arrived on schedule, and Sierra met them in the hotel lobby with a smile she'd practiced in the mirror. Margaret Vale swept her into a hug that smelled like lavender and optimism. Sweetheart, you look beautiful. Doesn't she look beautiful, Richard? Richard Vale, tall and silver-haired, nodded with the faint smile of a man who'd learned long ago to let his wife lead conversations. Beautiful. Where is he? Margaret's eyes scanned the lobby like a hawk spotting prey. Where's this mystery man? Upstairs, he's bringing his daughter down. Margaret's hand flew to her chest. He has a daughter? I mentioned that on the phone, Mom. You absolutely did not. I thought I did. Richard gave Sierra a look that said you definitely didn't, but he was kind enough not to say it out loud. The elevator chimed. Ethan stepped out with Lily at his side, and Sierra watched her mother's entire demeanor shift into high alert assessment mode. Ethan approached with confidence, but not arrogance, extending his hand to Margaret first. Mrs. Vale, I'm Ethan. It's great to finally meet you. Margaret shook his hand, her eyes already cataloging every detail. His clothes, his posture, the way he kept one hand resting lightly on his daughter's shoulder. And this must be Lily. Lily offered a small wave. Hi. Oh, she's precious. Margaret was already crouching down, her entire focus shifting. How old are you, sweetheart? 6? 6? That's such a wonderful age. Do you like staying in hotels? Lily nodded enthusiastically. There's room service. Everyone laughed, and just like that, the tension broke. Dinner was at an upscale Italian place 2 blocks from the hotel, the kind of restaurant where the waiters wore ties and the menu didn't list prices. Sierra had chosen it specifically, nice enough to impress, casual enough not to intimidate. They settled into a circular booth, Lily between Ethan and Sierra, her parents across from them. Margaret launched into conversation like a general, beginning a campaign. So Ethan, Sierra said you two met at a charity event? That's right. I was working on some restorations at the venue. Old building, beautiful woodwork that needed attention. Sierra was there for the actual event, and we ended up talking during a break. What did you talk about? Ethan glanced at Sierra, a flicker of amusement in his eyes. She told me I was using the wrong kind of stain for the type of wood. Turned out she was right. Margaret laughed. That sounds like Sierra. I read, Sierra said defensively. I know things. You know everything, her mother corrected fondly. That's always been your problem. Richard finally spoke. What kind of contracting do you do? Restorations mostly. Old homes, historical buildings, anything that needs careful attention to keep its character while making it functional. Must be rewarding work. It is. Ethan's expression softened. I like taking something broken and making it whole again. Sierra felt something shift in the air, a weight to his words that seemed directed at more than just buildings. Lily tugged on Sierra's sleeve. Can I have spaghetti? Sure. Sierra flagged down a waiter, ordered for the girl, then turned back to find her mother watching her with an expression of poorly concealed delight. The meal progressed smoothly. Ethan answered questions with ease, never overselling, never stumbling. He talked about his work, his daughter, the small routines of their life together. He made it sound simple and honest and real. Because it was real, Sierra realized. He wasn't playing a character. He was just being himself. How do you manage work and raising Lily alone? Margaret asked, her tone gentle but curious. Carefully, Ethan smiled. I schedule jobs around her school. If something runs late, I've got a neighbor who helps out. It's not always easy, but we make it work. Sierra mentioned your ex-wife isn't in the picture. Mom, Sierra said sharply. It's okay. Ethan's hand found Sierra's under the table, a gesture so natural that for a moment she forgot it was fake. No, she's not. That's been hard on Lily, but we're doing all right. We've got each other. Lily leaned against him and he wrapped an arm around her shoulders. The image of them together, father and daughter, solid and certain, made something ache in Sierra's chest. Margaret dabbed at her eyes with her napkin. You're a good man, Ethan. I try. After dinner, they walked back to the hotel through streets glowing with evening light. Lily held Ethan's hand on one side, and after a moment's hesitation, she reached for Sierra's on the other. Sierra looked down at the small hand in hers, warm and trusting, and felt the careful walls she'd built around herself tremble. Back at the hotel, her parents retired to their room, exhausted from travel. Lily was asleep within minutes of hitting the bed, curled up with Clover clutched to her chest. Sierra and Ethan stood on the balcony of the suite, the city sprawling below them in a carpet of lights. You were good tonight, Sierra said. Convincing. So were you. I wasn't acting. He turned to look at her, and she realized what she'd just admitted. I mean, I wasn't trying to act. I was just being normal. You don't have to explain. His voice was quiet. I get it. They stood in silence for a moment, the night air cool against their skin. Your daughter's sweet, Sierra said. She liked you. How can you tell? She held your hand. She doesn't do that with strangers. Sierra thought about that small hand in hers, the weight of trust it represented. I don't know how to be around kids. You did fine. I ordered her spaghetti. That's not exactly groundbreaking parenting. Ethan laughed, a low sound that seemed to ease something tight in Sierra's shoulders. You'd be surprised how much of parenting is just making sure they're fed and feel safe. You did both. Your bar is low. My bar is realistic. Sierra leaned against the railing, feeling the day's tension finally start to drain away. Thank you for doing this. I know it's weird. It's definitely weird, he smiled. But your mom's nice. Your dad seems solid. I can see why you didn't want to disappoint them. I disappoint them all the time. I just usually do it from a distance. Why? The question was simple, but the answer wasn't. Sierra searched for words that wouldn't sound pathetic or defensive. Because it's easier, she finally said. Because if they're far away, they can imagine I'm happy. If they're here, they see the truth. Which is that I work 16-hour days, that I eat takeout at my desk, that the last time I went on an actual date was 8 months ago, and the guy spent the whole time talking about his startup. She laughed bitterly. I built everything I said I would. I just didn't realize how empty it would feel. Ethan was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was careful. You know this doesn't have to be fake, right? Sierra's heart kicked against her ribs. What? This. Us talking, getting to know each other. That part can be real even if the rest is an arrangement. She turned to face him fully. In the dim light from the suite, his features were softer, less guarded. That wasn't part of the deal. I know, but deals can change. They stood there, the city breathing below them, and Sierra felt the ground shift beneath her feet in a way that had nothing to do with the height. I don't know how to do this, she admitted. Do what? Any of it. Real relationships, letting people in. I'm better at contracts than I am at connections. Lucky for you, Ethan said. I'm good at both. He stepped back from the railing, giving her space. Get some sleep. Tomorrow's another performance. Sierra watched him go back inside, heard the soft click of the adjoining door closing. She stayed on the balcony a while longer, trying to sort through the tangle of feelings rising in her chest. This was supposed to be simple. Professional, clean. It was already none of those things. Saturday morning arrived with sunlight streaming through the suite's windows. Sierra woke to the sound of laughter, high and bright and completely unfamiliar in her carefully controlled world. She pulled on a robe and stepped into the living area to find Lily sitting at the dining table, building an elaborate tower out of sugar packets, while Ethan made coffee in the kitchenette. Morning, he said, not looking up from the brewing pot. Morning. Sierra felt awkward in her own space, uncertain where she fit in this domestic scene. Where are my parents? They texted, said they wanted to walk around the city, do some sightseeing. They'll meet us for brunch at 11. Oh. Lily looked up from her tower. Do you want to help build? Sierra glanced at Ethan, who just shrugged. She sat down across from the girl, and Lily immediately began directing her on where to place the next packet. It has to be balanced, Lily explained with the seriousness of an architect. If it's not balanced, it falls. Makes sense. They worked in silence for a few minutes, the tower growing taller and more precarious. Ethan brought over 2 cups of coffee, setting one in front of Sierra before retreating to the couch with a newspaper he'd snagged from the lobby. Your dad's good at this, Sierra said to Lily. Good at what? Making things work, being calm. Lily considered this. He says everybody's got hard stuff. You just gotta find the good stuff, too. Sierra looked over at Ethan, who was pretending to read but clearly listening. That's pretty smart. My dad's the smartest. I'm starting to think you might be right. The tower collapsed spectacularly just before 11, sugar packets scattering across the table. Lily giggled, and Sierra found herself laughing too, a real laugh that felt rusty from disuse. Brunch was at a place known for its pastries and people-watching. Margaret arrived wearing a floral dress and enormous sunglasses, Richard in a polo shirt and khakis. They looked relaxed, happy, and Sierra realized with a pang how rarely she gave them reasons to look that way. "Did you two have fun last night?" Margaret asked, settling into her chair. "We stayed up talking on the balcony," Sierra said, which was true. "It was nice. And how did my little Lily sleep?" Margaret turned her attention to the girl who was already eyeing the pastry cart. "Good. The bed's really big. Hotel beds are the best, aren't they?" The meal unfolded with easy conversation. Richard asked Ethan about a restoration project, and Ethan described the process of rebuilding a Victorian home staircase with an enthusiasm that made the work sound like art. Sierra watched him talk, noticed the way his hands moved when he described something he cared about, the way his eyes lit up when Lily added her own observations. "Daddy let me help sand the railing," Lily announced proudly. "Did you wear your safety goggles?" Margaret asked. "Always." "That's my girl." Sierra felt her mother's eyes on her and looked up to find Margaret watching her with an expression of maternal understanding that made Sierra want to squirm. "What?" Sierra asked. "Nothing, sweetheart. You just look happy." "I'm always happy." "No," her mother said gently. "You're always busy. There's a difference." Before Sierra could respond, Lily let out a small cough. Then another. Her hand went to her chest, and Sierra saw the first flicker of panic in the girl's eyes. Ethan was on his feet instantly. "Where's your inhaler, Lil?" "Backpack." Her voice was getting tight. "Which is where?" "Room." Sierra's mind kicked into overdrive. "I'll get it. Which pocket?" "Front." Lily was wheezing now, her breathing labored. Sierra ran. She'd never moved so fast in heels, didn't care that people were staring. She burst into the suite, found the backpack, tore open the front pocket. The inhaler was there, small and blue and critical. She was back at the table in under 3 minutes, breathless, handing it to Ethan. He helped Lily use it, counting breaths, keeping his voice calm even though Sierra could see the fear in his eyes. "That's it. Good. One more." Lily's breathing slowly evened out. Color returned to her face. The entire restaurant seemed to exhale with her. "I'm okay," Lily whispered. "I know you are." Ethan pulled her close, and Sierra saw his hand shake slightly as he held his daughter. Margaret had her hand over her mouth, tears in her eyes. Richard looked pale. "Does this happen often?" Sierra asked, her own heart still racing. "More than I'd like." Ethan's voice was rough. "We manage it, but yeah, it's scary every time." Sierra sat down, legs suddenly weak. She'd just run through a hotel, grabbed medicine, and returned in time to help a child breathe. She didn't do things like that. She wasn't that person. Except apparently, she was. "I think we should head back to the room," Ethan said quietly. "Let her rest." "Of course." Margaret was already gathering her purse. "Whatever she needs." They returned to the suite as a group, Lily quiet and tired in her father's arms. He settled her on the couch with Clover and a blanket, and Margaret immediately took over fussing, getting water, adjusting pillows, asking questions in a grandmother's voice, even though she had no official claim to that title. Richard pulled Sierra aside. "That was quick thinking. I just ran. You knew exactly what to do." "Ethan told me where it was." Her father studied her with those quiet, assessing eyes. "You care about them." It wasn't a question, but Sierra answered anyway. "It's only been 2 days." "Some things don't take long." They rejoined the group. Lily was already looking better, sipping water and letting Margaret read to her from a magazine. Ethan stood by the window, arms crossed, watching his daughter with the vigilance of someone who'd learned never to fully relax. Sierra walked over to him. "She's okay. This time. You can't control everything." He looked at her, something raw in his expression. "I know, believe me, I know, but I can try." "That must be exhausting." "It is." She wanted to say something comforting, something wise, but all she could think was that she understood that exhaustion, the weight of trying to control everything, the fear of what happened when you couldn't. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for running to get the inhaler. You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did." Their eyes met, and something passed between them. Recognition, maybe, or the beginning of something deeper than a business arrangement. The rest of the day was quiet. Lily napped. Margaret and Richard explored the hotel. Sierra worked on her laptop while Ethan sat nearby, reading. It felt strangely domestic, this shared silence, and Sierra found she didn't hate it. Evening came soft and slow. They ordered room service instead of going out, pasta for Lily, steaks for the adults. They ate together in the suite's dining area, and the conversation flowed easier now, less performance and more genuine. After dinner, Richard suggested a card game, and they played for hours. Lily delighted when she won, Margaret dealing with the efficiency of someone who'd spent years playing cards in retirement communities. Sierra watched her parents laugh with Ethan and Lily, watched them fold this makeshift family into their hearts with the ease of people who'd always had room for more love. She caught Ethan's eye across the table, and he smiled at her. Not the practiced smile of someone playing a role, but something real and warm and meant just for her. "I'm going to put Lily to bed," he said eventually, scooping up his daughter, who'd started to doze against his shoulder. Margaret and Richard took it as their cue to retire as well, hugging Sierra goodnight with the contentment of parents who believed their daughter was finally okay. When they'd gone, Sierra stood alone in the suite, listening to Ethan's quiet voice through the adjoining door as he read Lily a bedtime story. She poured herself a glass of wine, stepped out onto the balcony, and let herself feel the full weight of what was happening. This wasn't supposed to be real, but standing there, listening to a father soothe his daughter to sleep, thinking about how her heart had raced when that same child couldn't breathe, it felt more real than anything in her life had felt in years. The balcony door opened behind her. Ethan stepped out, closing it softly. "She's asleep," he said. "Good." They stood together at the railing, and Sierra felt the question building in her chest, the one she'd been avoiding since Friday night. "What happens when this is over?" she asked. "What do you want to happen?" "I don't know. This wasn't supposed to get complicated." "Too late for that." She turned to face him. "I'm not good at this, Ethan. I don't know how to be someone's girlfriend. I barely know how to be someone's friend." "You were good with Lily today. That was adrenaline." "No," he said. "That was care. That was you showing up when it mattered." "I don't show up. I work. I plan. I execute. I don't do spontaneous or messy or real." Ethan stepped closer. "You've done all three this weekend." "Because I had to." "Because you wanted to." The words hung between them, true and terrifying. Sierra felt her carefully constructed defenses crumbling, felt the truth pushing through cracks she couldn't repair. "I don't know how to want things for myself," she admitted. "I only know how to want things for my company, for my career." "Then learn. It's not that simple." "It is, though." His hand came up, gentle against her cheek. "You just decide that you're worth more than conference calls and quarterly reports. You decide that you deserve something real. And if I don't know how, then I'll teach you." She laughed, shaky and uncertain. "That's not your job." "Maybe not, but I want it to be." The kiss happened before Sierra could overthink it. Ethan leaning in, her rising to meet him, the space between them disappearing like it had never existed at all. It was soft at first, tentative, a question neither of them had meant to ask, but both were desperate to answer. Then deeper, more certain, hands finding fabric and skin, and the solid reality of another person choosing to be close. When they finally pulled apart, Sierra was breathless. "That wasn't in the contract," she managed. "I know. We're supposed to keep this professional. We're failing spectacularly at that." She laughed, and it felt like relief and terror and possibility all tangled together. "What do we do now?" "We could pretend it didn't happen," Ethan offered. "Could we?" "No." "Then what?" He brushed a strand of hair from her face, his touch impossibly gentle. "We could see where this goes. After your parents leave, after the weekend's over, we could try being real." "What about Lily? What about her?" "I don't know how to be around kids. What if I mess this up?" "You won't." "You don't know that." "I know you ran through a hotel to save my daughter's life. I know you sat with her building sugar packet towers. I know she held your hand." His voice was steady, certain. "That's enough to start with." Sierra wanted to argue, to list all the reasons this was impossible, but looking at Ethan, at the hope and honesty in his eyes, she found she didn't want to. "Okay," she said softly. "Okay? Let's try. After this weekend, let's see if we can make this real." Ethan pulled her close, and Sierra let herself be held. Let herself feel the warmth of another person and the terrifying possibility that maybe, just maybe, she didn't have to be alone anymore. They stayed on the balcony until the city lights blurred and the night grew cold. When they finally went inside, Sierra paused at the door to the adjoining room. "Good night, Ethan." "Good night, Sierra." She closed the door between them and leaned against it, her heart racing. Tomorrow, her parents would leave. Tomorrow, the performance would end. But something else was beginning, something fragile and uncertain and entirely unplanned. Sierra Vale, who controlled everything, had just let go of control. And for the first time in years, she felt alive. Sunday morning tasted like coffee and consequences. Sierra woke before dawn, her mind already churning through everything that had happened on that balcony, everything she'd agreed to without thinking it through. She'd kissed a man she'd hired. She'd promised to try something real with someone who came with a 6-year-old daughter and a life so different from hers they might as well live on separate planets. She should have felt panicked. Instead, she felt awake. The suite was quiet when she emerged from her room, wrapped in the hotel robe. Through the adjoining door, she could hear Ethan moving around, the soft murmur of his voice as he talked to Lily. Normal morning sounds, domestic sounds, things Sierra's life had never contained. Her phone buzzed, a text from her mother. "Your father and I are heading to the airport early. Didn't want to wake you. Thank you for a wonderful weekend, sweetheart. Ethan's a keeper. Don't let this one get away." Sierra stared at the message, at the heart emoji her mother had added, at the assumption that this was already decided, already real. Maybe it was. The adjoining door opened and Lily padded out, still in her pajamas, dragging Clover behind her. She stopped when she saw Sierra, suddenly shy again. "Morning," Sierra said. "Morning." Lily climbed onto the couch, tucking her feet under her. "Are your parents still here?" "They left early. Had to catch their flight." "Oh." The girl looked disappointed. "I liked them." "They liked you too." Ethan appeared in the doorway, hair damp from a shower, wearing jeans and a t-shirt that had seen better days. His eyes found Sierra's immediately, and she felt that same pull from last night, that gravity she didn't know how to resist. "Parents gone?" he asked. "Just got the text." "So we're done, officially." The word hung in the air between them. Done. Finished. Back to their separate lives, the arrangement complete. Except they'd agreed to more than that, hadn't they? "Can we talk?" Sierra asked, her eyes flicking toward Lily. Ethan understood immediately. "Lil, can you go get dressed? We need to pack up soon." "Can I take a bath in the big tub first?" "Sure, but just water, no bubbles. We don't have time for a full production." Lily scampered off, and Sierra heard the bathroom door close, then the rush of water filling the oversized tub. Ethan moved to the kitchenette, started another pot of coffee with the ease of someone comfortable in any space. "You okay?" he asked. "I don't know. Are you?" "I don't typically kiss my employers, so this is new territory for me, too." Sierra almost smiled. "Is that what I am? Your employer?" "You were. Past tense." He poured 2 cups, handed her one. "Now I don't know what we are." "We said we'd try. After the weekend." "I remember." "Did you mean it?" Ethan leaned against the counter, studying her. "Did you?" "I asked first." "Yeah, I meant it." His voice was steady, certain in a way that made Sierra's chest tight. "I don't say things I don't mean, especially not about something like this." "Something like what?" "Letting someone into my life. Into Lily's life." He set his cup down. "I've been careful about that, really careful. After her mom left, I promised myself I wouldn't bring anyone around unless I was sure, unless it mattered." "And you're sure about me? After 2 days?" "No. But I'm sure enough to find out." Sierra wrapped both hands around her coffee cup, feeling the heat seep into her palms. "I work 80-hour weeks. I travel for business. I don't cook. I barely sleep. And the last relationship I had ended because the guy said I was married to my company. He wasn't wrong, was he? No. So what's different now?" The question landed hard. Sierra thought about Friday night, about running through the hotel with an inhaler clutched in her hand, about the terror she'd felt watching Lily struggle to breathe. She thought about sugar packet towers and room service spaghetti and the way her parents had looked at her, proud and relieved and hopeful. "I don't know if anything's different," she admitted, "but I want it to be." Ethan crossed the space between them, close enough that she could smell soap and coffee and something distinctly him. That's a start. What if I'm terrible at this? You won't be. You keep saying that like you know me. I know enough. His hand found hers, fingers threading through hers with surprising ease. I know you ran for my daughter. I know you didn't complain when I changed the deal on you. I know you're scared right now, and you're still standing here having this conversation instead of writing me a check and disappearing. Maybe I'm just bad at quitting. Maybe you're good at fighting for things that matter. The bathroom door opened and Lily's voice carried through. Dad, can I use the fancy soap? The little bottle by the sink, not the big one, Ethan called back. He squeezed Sierra's hand. We should probably talk about logistics. Logistics? How this actually works. You're busy. I've got Lily full time. We live on opposite sides of the city. Sierra's brain, trained for years to solve problems, kicked into gear. I could adjust my schedule. Leave the office by 6 instead of 9. We could do dinners, weekends when you don't have projects. What about Lily? What about her? She's part of this. If we're doing this for real, she's going to be around. A lot. Sierra thought about the girl in the other room, currently probably dumping half a bottle of hotel soap into the bathtub despite instructions. I don't know how to be around kids. You keep saying that, but you've been around her all weekend and she likes you. That's different. That was contained, controlled. Life with a 6-year-old is never controlled. Ethan smiled. But you figure it out as you go, just like everything else. I don't figure things out as I go. I plan. I strategize. Then strategize this. What's your best case scenario? Sierra opened her mouth, then closed it. She'd spent her entire adult life planning for professional success, mapping out every career move, every acquisition, every expansion. But personal life? She'd never bothered with that blueprint. I don't have one, she said quietly. Okay. What do you want? Right now, this minute, what do you actually want? The answer came faster than she expected. I want to see you again. Not because of my parents, not because of a deal, just because. Then we start there. It sounded so simple when he said it. Sierra wanted to believe it could be that easy, but years of complication had taught her otherwise. My life is messy, she warned. So is mine. I mean really messy. Corporate politics, hostile competitors, constant pressure. Ethan's expression shifted slightly, something she couldn't quite read. How hostile are we talking? There's a guy, Marcus Delaney, runs Helix Corp. We've been going after the same contracts for 3 years. He plays dirty. How dirty? Rumors, sabotage, nothing I can prove, but enough that I watch my back. She paused. Why? Just want to know what I'm walking into. Before Sierra could respond, Lily emerged from the bathroom wearing a purple dress and mismatched socks, her hair wet and tangled. I'm ready. Ethan looked at his daughter, then at Sierra, something passing between them. An understanding, maybe, or a promise. Okay, kiddo, let's pack up. They checked out of the hotel an hour later, the weekend officially over. In the parking garage, Ethan loaded their bag into a truck that had clearly been around since before Lily was born. Sierra watched him help his daughter into the back seat, buckling her in with practiced efficiency. So, he said, turning back to Sierra, when can I see you again? Are you free Wednesday? I can be. There's a Thai place near my office. Nothing fancy, but the food's good. Sounds perfect. He hesitated, then leaned in and kissed her, quick and soft and nothing like last night's balcony intensity, but enough to make Sierra's pulse jump. Ew, Lily announced from the back seat. Ethan pulled back, grinning. Get used to it, Lil. Sierra watched them drive away, Ethan's hand lifting in a wave, Lily's face pressed to the window. When they were gone, she stood in the concrete silence of the parking garage and tried to process what she'd just done. She'd hired a fake boyfriend, kissed him, agreed to date him for real, all in the span of 72 hours. Her phone rang. Work, of course. Vale here. Sierra, it's Jason. We've got a problem with the Cordova account. Just like that, the weekend dissolved and reality came rushing back. Sierra walked to her car, already mentally shifting gears, already becoming the CEO again instead of the woman who'd kissed a contractor on a hotel balcony. But as she drove toward the office on a Sunday afternoon, something felt different. Lighter. Like she'd left something heavy behind in that hotel suite and wasn't sure she wanted it back. The week hit like a freight train. Monday brought a full slate of meetings. Tuesday was crisis management when a shipment delay threatened a major client relationship. By Wednesday afternoon, Sierra had answered 400 emails, sat through 6 conference calls, and consumed nothing but coffee and a protein bar. Her assistant knocked on her office door at 5:30. "You've got a dinner reservation at 6." Sierra looked up from her laptop, confused. "I didn't make a reservation." "It's on your calendar. Thai place on 7th. Your friend called to confirm this morning." Ethan. She'd completely forgotten. Sierra glanced at the stack of contracts on her desk, the report she needed to review, the presentation she was supposed to finalize before Thursday's board meeting. She should cancel. This wasn't the time for personal distractions. Her assistant was still standing there, watching her with an expression that said she knew exactly what Sierra was thinking. "Go," the woman said. "The contracts will still be here tomorrow." "That's what I'm afraid of." "You made a dinner date. Keep it." Sierra logged off her computer, grabbed her jacket, and left before she could change her mind. The restaurant was a 10-minute walk, tucked between a bookstore and a dry cleaner. She spotted Ethan through the window, sitting alone at a table, studying the menu. He looked up when she walked in, and his whole face changed, relaxed, warmed. "You came," he said, standing. "You thought I wouldn't?" "Crossed my mind." He pulled out her chair. "Long day?" "You could say that." She sat, feeling the tension in her shoulders, the exhaustion that came from running at full speed for 72 hours straight. "How was yours?" "Fixed a staircase, picked Lily up from school, helped with homework, made dinner, read 3 chapters of a book about a magic treehouse." He smiled. "Pretty standard." The waiter appeared with water and menus. Sierra ordered without looking, pad thai, spring rolls, whatever would arrive fastest. Ethan ordered curry and asked questions about spice levels with the patience of someone who had nowhere else to be. "Tell me about your day," he said when the waiter left. "It was boring. Work stuff." "I doubt anything about running a multi-million-dollar company is boring." Sierra shrugged. "It's just meetings and emails and putting out fires." "Which fires today?" She told him about the shipment delay, the client who'd threatened to walk, the solution she'd brokered that kept everyone marginally happy. As she talked, she realized she was editing herself, smoothing over the edges, making it sound manageable when it had actually been chaos. Ethan listened without interrupting, his attention complete in a way Sierra wasn't used to. Most people in her life were already thinking about their next meeting, their next move. He was just here. "You fixed it," he said when she finished. "That's my job." Still impressive. "It's really not. It's just problem solving." "Which you're good at." Sierra picked up her water glass, needing something to do with her hands. "How's Lily?" "Good. She asked about you." "She did?" "Wanted to know when you were coming over." The casual way he said it made Sierra's stomach flip. Coming over. Like that was normal, expected. "I haven't been invited over." "I'm inviting you now, Friday night. Nothing fancy, just dinner and probably a Disney movie." "I don't know if I can do Friday. I've got work." "I know." His tone wasn't judgmental, just factual. "Saturday, then?" Sierra thought about her weekend, already mentally filling with tasks she'd pushed from the week. "Saturday might work." "Might?" "Probably will." "That's better." The food arrived, and Ethan immediately offered her a bite of his curry. "Try this. It's incredible." She did, and it was. They ate and talked, and somewhere in the middle of the meal, Sierra felt herself relaxing in a way she couldn't remember doing in months, maybe years. "Can I ask you something?" Ethan said, pushing his empty plate aside. "Sure." "Why'd you really hire me? I know you said I seemed real, but there's more to it." Sierra considered lying, deflecting, but something about the way he looked at her made dishonesty feel impossible. "Because I'm lonely, and I didn't want my parents to know how lonely I am." "And now?" "Now I'm still lonely, but maybe trying to do something about it." His hand found hers across the table. "That's brave." "It doesn't feel brave. It feels terrifying." "Most brave things do." They left the restaurant as the sun set, painting the city in shades of orange and pink. Ethan walked her back to her office building, hands in his pockets, matching her pace. This was nice, Sierra said when they reached the lobby doors. Yeah, it was. I'm sorry I almost forgot about it. But you didn't. You showed up. He leaned in, kissed her cheek. That's what matters. She watched him walk away, then rode the elevator back to her office where the contracts were indeed still waiting. But as she worked through them, she kept thinking about his hand in hers, the way he'd listened like her day actually mattered. Thursday and Friday blurred together in a mess of deadlines and decisions. Sierra worked late both nights, survived the board meeting, and collapsed into bed at midnight on Friday, with her phone still buzzing with messages she was too exhausted to answer. Saturday morning arrived with reluctance. Sierra woke at 9, practically a record for her, and stared at her ceiling trying to remember when she'd last had a day with no schedule, no obligations. Her phone showed a text from Ethan, sent an hour earlier. Still good for tonight? Thinking 6 p.m. Lily wants to make you cookies, but I'm limiting her to one batch. Address is 847 Maple Street, apartment 4B. Sierra typed out a response, deleted it, tried again. I'll be there. Should I bring anything? His reply came quickly. Just yourself. And maybe low expectations for the cookies. She's enthusiastic but not skilled. The day stretched ahead, empty and strange. Sierra cleaned her already clean apartment, answered work emails, went for a run she didn't enjoy, and by 4 o'clock was pacing her living room trying to decide what to wear to dinner with a 6-year-old and her father. She settled on jeans and a sweater, casual enough not to seem like she was trying too hard, nice enough to show she cared. Then she changed 3 more times before forcing herself to stop. Maple Street was on the north side of the city, a neighborhood of old apartment buildings and corner stores. Sierra found parking 2 blocks away and walked to number 847, a brick building with a faded green awning. Apartment 4B was on the 4th floor. No elevator. She climbed the stairs, hearing voices and cooking sounds floating from behind closed doors. The building smelled like garlic and laundry detergent and lives being lived. She knocked on the door marked 4B. Footsteps, then Lily's voice. Dad, she's here! The door opened and Lily stood there in an apron covered in flour, grinning. Hi. Hi. Sierra felt absurdly nervous. I brought wine. Is that weird? I didn't know what else to bring. Ethan appeared behind his daughter, wiping his hands on a dish towel. Wine's perfect. Come in. The apartment was small but warm, everything well-worn and clearly loved. Mismatched furniture, photos on every surface, Lily's drawings taped to the refrigerator. It looked like a home, Sierra thought, not a showroom or a hotel suite, a real place where real people lived. We're making cookies, Lily announced, grabbing Sierra's hand and pulling her toward the kitchen. The kitchen was a disaster zone. Flour everywhere, mixing bowls stacked in the sink, cooling racks covered in lumpy brown circles that might have been cookies. Are they supposed to be that shape? Sierra asked. They're rustic, Ethan said, fighting a smile. They're weird, Lily corrected, but they taste good, probably. Sierra found herself laughing, the sound surprised out of her. Can I help? You can decorate. Lily produced a bag of frosting and sprinkles that looked like they'd exploded in transport. Dad says we can only use a little because too much sugar makes me crazy. Hyperactive, Ethan corrected. The word is hyperactive. That's what I said. Crazy. They spent the next hour decorating cookies, Lily providing instructions with the authority of a pastry chef while Ethan made dinner, and Sierra tried not to think about how the flower on her sweater would probably never come out. Dinner was spaghetti, simple and perfect. They ate at a small table by the window, Lily talking nonstop about school and her friend Maya and a boy named Tucker who ate glue. Why does he eat glue? Sierra asked. Nobody knows. Maya thinks he's an alien. That's a theory. After dinner, Lily demanded the promised Disney movie. They settled on the couch, Lily in the middle, Sierra and Ethan on either side, and watched a story about a girl with magic hair trapped in a tower. Halfway through, Lily fell asleep, her head heavy on Sierra's shoulder. Sierra looked down at the sleeping child, at the cookie crumbs on her dress, and the slight wheeze in her breathing, and felt something crack open in her chest. She does this, Ethan whispered, falls asleep right in the middle. I keep telling her we can watch it tomorrow, but she insists she's not tired. What do we do? I'll carry her to bed in a minute. Let her sleep a bit first. They sat in the flickering light of the TV, the girl between them breathing softly. Sierra tried to remember the last time she'd sat this still, this quiet, with no agenda except being present. She couldn't. "Thank you for coming," Ethan said quietly. "Thank you for inviting me." Was it what you expected? Sierra looked around the apartment, at the stack of library books on the coffee table and the blanket draped over the couch arm and the framed photo of Lily as a baby. "No, it's better." "Better than what?" "Than being alone in my apartment pretending to have a life." Ethan reached across his sleeping daughter to take Sierra's hand. "You have a life. You're living it right now." "This isn't my life. This is yours. Maybe it can be both." The movie ended. Ethan scooped up Lily, who mumbled something about towers before settling against his shoulder. He carried her to her room, and Sierra heard him talking softly, heard the creak of a bed and the click of a door being pulled almost closed. When he came back, he sat closer to her on the couch, not touching, but close enough that she could feel his warmth. "Can I tell you something?" he asked. "Okay." "When my ex left, I promised myself I wouldn't bring anyone into Lily's life unless I was sure. Really, completely sure. Because she doesn't deserve to get attached to people who leave." Sierra's throat went tight. "I'm not planning to leave." "But you're not planning to stay either, are you?" "Not really." The question hit harder than it should have. Sierra thought about her calendar, already filling with travel and meetings and obligations that stretched months into the future. Thought about how easily she'd almost forgotten their Wednesday dinner, how close she'd come to canceling tonight. "I don't know how to do this," she said. "Balance work and this." "This?" "You, Lily, a relationship. I've never been good at it. So you stop trying before you fail?" "I stopped trying before I hurt anyone." Ethan was quiet for a moment. "What if you don't fail? What if you actually figure it out?" "That's a big what if." "Most good things are." Sierra looked at him, at the hope and honesty in his face. "I want to try. I do. But I need you to understand, my work isn't just a job. It's everything I've built. Everything I am." "I'm not asking you to give it up." "Then what are you asking?" "Just make room. For this. For us." He took her hand. "I'm not asking for every night or every weekend. Just some of them. Just enough to see if this can become something real." "What if it already is?" The words were out before she could stop them. Ethan stared at her, something shifting in his expression. "Is it?" he asked. "I ran through a hotel for your daughter. I'm sitting in your apartment on a Saturday night covered in flour. I spent an hour decorating misshapen cookies." She laughed shakily. "I think it might be." He kissed her then, slow and careful, like he was testing a theory. Sierra kissed him back, tasting sugar and hope and the terrifying possibility of something she'd never let herself want. When they pulled apart, Ethan was smiling. "Stay." "What?" "Stay tonight. Not like that. Just stay. We can watch another movie, talk, fall asleep on the couch like normal people." Sierra thought about her empty apartment, her lonely bed, the silence that waited for her. Okay. They watched another movie, some comedy neither of them paid attention to. Sierra ended up with her head on Ethan's shoulder, his arm around her, and at some point she drifted off to the sound of his heartbeat and the knowledge that for the first time in longer than she could remember, she wasn't alone. She woke to sunlight and the smell of pancakes. Lily was standing by the couch, studying her with the intensity of a scientist examining a new specimen. "You stayed," the girl said. "I did." Sierra sat up, wincing at the crick in her neck. "Is that okay?" "Yeah, Dad said you might." Ethan appeared with a plate of pancakes. "Good morning. Coffee? Please." They ate breakfast together, Lily chattering about the cookies they'd made and how she wanted to bring some to school. Sierra listened, contributed when asked, and felt the strange normalcy of it all settle over her like a blanket. Her phone buzzed. Work, of course. A problem with Monday's presentation. She ignored it. Ethan noticed. "You can take that if you need to." "I don't need to." But she did eventually. By noon, the messages were piling up, each one more urgent than the last. Sierra excused herself to the hallway, called her assistant, and spent 15 minutes troubleshooting an issue that could have waited until Monday, but wouldn't because someone somewhere had decided it was critical. When she came back inside, Ethan was cleaning up breakfast while Lily colored at the table. Everything okay? He asked. Just work drama. Nothing I couldn't handle. You sure? Yeah. But her mind was already spinning, already cataloging all the things she needed to do, all the fires she needed to put out before Monday morning. She left an hour later, promising Lily she'd come back soon, kissing Ethan goodbye in the doorway. As she drove home through Sunday traffic, she felt the weekend slipping away, reality creeping back in. Her phone rang as she pulled into her parking garage. Unknown number. Sierra Vale. Ms. Vale. This is Detective Chen with the city police. We need to talk about a security incident at your office building. Sierra's blood went cold. What kind of incident? Break-in. Last night around 2 a.m. Can you come down to the station? The rest of Sunday disappeared into police statements and security footage reviews. Someone had broken into Apex Solutions' offices, accessed her computer, and left without taking anything physical. But the digital damage was worse. Files copied, emails downloaded, corporate secrets stolen. Any idea who might want this information? Detective Chen asked. Sierra thought about Marcus Delaney, about 3 years of hostile competition and dirty tricks. I have suspicions. We'll need more than suspicions. By the time she left the police station, it was dark and her head was pounding. She drove home on autopilot, let herself into her apartment, and stood in the silence trying to process what had just happened. Her company had been violated. Her work, her files, her strategies, all of it copied and stolen. And she had no proof of who'd done it, just a gut feeling and a history of bad blood. Her phone buzzed. Ethan. Hey. Lily wanted me to tell you she had fun today. Hope your work thing wasn't too bad. Sierra stared at the message, at the innocence of it, the normalcy. She thought about telling him what had happened, but the words felt too heavy, too complicated. It's fine. Tell Lily I had fun too. She set the phone down and walked to her window, looking out at the city that suddenly felt hostile and dangerous. Someone was coming after her company, after everything she'd built, and she had no idea how far they were willing to go. Monday morning started with a security briefing that made Sierra's coffee taste like ash. Her IT director, a nervous man named Paul, who'd worked for the company since its founding, pulled up server logs and access records with shaking hands. They knew what they were looking for, he said, pointing at timestamps. Went straight for the Kingston contract files, the Meridian acquisition proposal, and your personal correspondence with the board. Sierra studied the screen, her jaw tight. How long were they in the system? 47 minutes, long enough to copy everything. And our security didn't catch it? Paul's face reddened. They used your login credentials. As far as the system knew, it was you working late, which means they had my password. Sierra's mind raced through possibilities. When was it last changed? 3 months ago. Change it now. Change everyone's. Implement two-factor authentication across the board. I don't care if people complain. That's going to cost? I don't care what it costs. Her voice was sharp enough to make him flinch. Someone broke into my company and stole proprietary information. Money is not the priority here. Paul nodded and fled. Sierra sat alone in the conference room, staring at the evidence of violation spread across the screen. Marcus Delaney's face kept appearing in her mind. His smug smile at industry events, the way he'd looked at her last month when Apex won the Cordova account he'd wanted. Her phone buzzed. Ethan. Lily keeps asking when you're coming back. I told her you're busy with work, but she's persistent. Wonder where she gets that from. Sierra felt something twist in her chest. She'd barely thought about them since yesterday, her mind consumed with the break-in and its implications. She typed a response, deleted it, tried again. Sorry. Crazy Monday. Maybe this weekend? You said that last week. I know, work stuff came up. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Is everything okay? No, Sierra thought. Nothing is okay. Someone's trying to destroy my company, and I don't know how to stop them, and I'm terrified that if I tell you any of this, you'll realize how messy my life actually is and walk away. Fine. Just busy. I'll call you later. She didn't call. The day spiraled into damage control meetings, emergency board calls, and tense conversations with the company's lawyers about legal recourse for corporate espionage. By the time Sierra looked up, it was past 9 and the office had emptied hours ago. Her assistant knocked on the door frame. You should go home. I will. Soon. You said that 3 hours ago. The woman crossed her arms. Whatever you're fighting, you can't win it tonight. Sierra wanted to argue, but exhaustion was making her vision blur. She gathered her things and left, driving home through empty streets, while her mind churned through scenarios and strategies. The week devoured her. Tuesday brought news that Helix Corp had somehow known about Apex's bid on a major contract and undercut them by exactly 3%, the kind of precision that only came from inside information. Wednesday, a key client called to say they were exploring other options, using language that sounded suspiciously like something from Sierra's own stolen emails. By Thursday, she was sleeping 4 hours a night and surviving on coffee and rage. Ethan texted twice. She responded with one-word answers and promises she knew she wouldn't keep. Friday afternoon, her lawyer called with an update. We can't prove Delaney was behind the break-in. The police are pursuing it, but without hard evidence linking him to the breach, we're stuck. There has to be something. There isn't. Not yet. My advice? Tighten security, protect your current data, and watch him carefully. Eventually, he'll make a mistake. And in the meantime, he gets away with it? In the meantime, you focus on not giving him anything else to steal. Sierra hung up and stared at the wall of her office, feeling the weight of helplessness pressing down on her shoulders. She'd built this company from nothing, fought for every contract, every client, every inch of success. And now someone was trying to take it apart piece by piece. Her phone rang. Ethan again. She let it go to voicemail, not trusting herself to talk without breaking down. The voicemail notification appeared a minute later. She played it. Hey, it's me. I know you're dealing with something, and you don't have to tell me what it is, but I need you to know that disappearing isn't the answer. Lily misses you. I miss you. Whatever's going on, we can figure it out together. But you have to actually talk to me. Call me back. Sierra closed her eyes against the sting of tears she refused to let fall. She wanted to call him back, wanted to drive to his apartment and fall apart in his arms. But what good would that do? He couldn't fix this. No one could. She stayed at the office until midnight, then went home and didn't sleep. Saturday morning, she was back at her desk by 7. The office was empty, quiet in a way that usually helped her think. But today, the silence just amplified the chaos in her head. Her phone buzzed with the text from an unknown number. Enjoying the competition, Vale. You should have taken my offer when you had the chance. MD Sierra stared at the message, fury rising hot and fast in her chest. Marcus Delaney. Confirming what she'd known all along but couldn't prove. She called her lawyer immediately. He just texted me, practically admitted to the theft. What exactly did he say? Sierra read the message verbatim. That's not an admission, the lawyer said carefully. It's vague enough to be interpreted as standard business competition. He'll claim he was referring to the contracts you've been competing for publicly. But we both know what he means. Knowing and proving are different things. Sierra wanted to throw her phone across the room. Instead, she took a breath and forced herself to think strategically. What if we set a trap? What kind of trap? Create false information, something tempting enough that he'd go after it. And this time, we're ready. Her lawyer was quiet for a moment. That's risky. So is doing nothing. Let me think about it. I'll call you Monday. Sierra hung up and sat in the silence of her office, her mind already working through the details of how to bait someone who'd already proven he'd take what he wanted. Her phone rang. Ethan's name appeared on the screen. She answered before she could talk herself out of it. Hey, you're alive. His voice was careful, controlled. Good to know. I'm sorry, I've been busy. Yeah, I got that message several times. Sierra winced. It's been a complicated week. Must be, since you can't even find 5 minutes to call your girlfriend back. Are we doing that? The girlfriend thing? I don't know, Sierra. Are we? He sounded tired. Because from where I'm sitting, it feels like you checked out the second things got hard. That's not fair, isn't it? You spent 1 weekend with us, things were good, and then the minute real life showed up, you disappeared. My company was broken into. Someone stole proprietary information. I've been trying to keep everything from falling apart. The words came out sharper than she intended. Ethan was quiet on the other end. Why didn't you tell me that? He finally asked, his tone completely different now. Because what could you do about it? Build a better lock? I could have listened. supported you. That's what people do when they care about each other. Sierra felt something crack inside her. I don't know how to let people do that. Then learn. Because his voice was gentle now, but firm. This isn't going to work if you shut me out every time things get difficult. I don't know how to balance this, you and Lily and work. I don't know how to be good at all of it. You don't have to be good at all of it. You just have to show up. Sierra pressed her palm against her forehead, feeling the headache that had lived there all week pulse harder. I'm scared. Of what? That I'm going to fail at this. That I'm going to hurt you and Lily. That I'm going to prove everyone right who said I'm only good at work. Who said that? Everyone? My ex? My competitors? That voice in my head that never shuts up. Ethan sighed. Can I come see you? Now? Yeah, now. Where are you? My office. Of course you are. I'll be there in 30 minutes. You don't have to. I know, but I want to. Text me the address. He hung up before she could argue. Sierra sat there, holding her phone, feeling exposed and uncertain and strangely relieved. 28 minutes later, there was a knock on her office door. Ethan stood in the hallway wearing jeans and a jacket, holding 2 cups of coffee. Building security tried to stop me, he said, walking in and handing her one of the cups. I told them I was your boyfriend. They didn't believe me until I described what you were probably wearing. Sierra looked down at her navy blazer and white blouse. Lucky guess. Not really. You wear the same thing every day. He sat in the chair across from her desk. Talk to me. So she did. She told him about the break-in, the stolen files, Marcus Delaney's games, the contracts she was losing, the trap she was planning. She told him about the fury and helplessness and bone-deep exhaustion that came from fighting battles she couldn't win with traditional weapons. Ethan listened without interrupting, his eyes never leaving her face. What do you need? He asked when she finished. I don't know. Yes, you do. Sierra thought about it. I need him to stop. I need to protect what I've built. I need to not feel like I'm drowning every minute of every day. Okay, let's start with the last one. He stood, walked around her desk, and pulled her to her feet. When's the last time you slept? I sleep. How many hours last night? 3, maybe. That's not sleeping, that's passing out from exhaustion. He grabbed her jacket from the back of her chair. Come on. Where are we going? My place. You're going to eat actual food, take a shower, and sleep for more than 3 hours. I can't just leave. I have work. It'll be here Monday. All of it. The files, the problems, the competition. He took her hand. But right now, you need to take care of yourself. Because you can't fight anything running on fumes. Sierra wanted to argue, to list all the reasons she needed to stay. But looking at Ethan, at the concern and certainty in his eyes, she found she didn't have the energy. Okay. They drove separately to his apartment. Sierra followed his truck through Saturday traffic, her mind still spinning with work thoughts, even as her body sagged with relief at the prospect of stopping. Lily was at a friend's house for a birthday party. The apartment was quiet when they arrived, sunlight streaming through the windows Sierra remembered from last weekend. A lifetime ago, it felt like now. Sit, Ethan ordered, pointing at the couch. Sierra sat. He disappeared into the kitchen and returned with a sandwich and a glass of water. Eat. You're very bossy. You need someone to be bossy, otherwise you'll work yourself to death. He wasn't wrong. Sierra ate the sandwich, turkey and cheese, simple and perfect, while Ethan sat beside her, close but not crowding. Better? He asked when she finished. A little. Good. Now shower. There's clean towels in the bathroom, and you can borrow some of my clothes to sleep in. 20 minutes later, Sierra emerged from the bathroom wearing Ethan's shirt and a pair of his sweatpants that she'd had to roll up 3 times. Her hair was wet, her face scrubbed clean, and she felt almost human again. Ethan had made up the couch with blankets and pillows. Sleep. It's 3 in the afternoon. I don't care if it's noon, you're exhausted. Sleep. Sierra lay down, expecting to feel restless, but the moment her head hit the pillow, she felt herself sinking. Ethan covered her with a blanket, and the weight of it was somehow exactly what she needed. Thank you, she mumbled. Anytime. She slept hard and dreamless for 4 hours. When she woke, the apartment was dim with evening light. She could hear Ethan in the kitchen, smell something cooking, and she could hear Lily's voice, bright and excited. Is she still sleeping? Probably. She needed it. Can I go check? Quietly. Soft footsteps approached. Sierra opened her eyes to find Lily peering over the back of the couch, her face serious and concerned. Hi, Sierra said. Hi. Dad said you were really tired. I was. Are you sick? No, sweetheart. Just working too much. Lily climbed over the couch and settled beside Sierra's hip, her small hand patting Sierra's arm. My dad says working too much makes you forget about the good stuff. Your dad's pretty smart. I know. Lily's expression turned hopeful. Are you staying for dinner? Sierra looked past her to where Ethan stood in the kitchen doorway, watching them. He smiled slightly, and she felt something in her chest ease. Yeah, she said. I'm staying. Dinner was spaghetti again, and Sierra was starting to think it might be the only thing Ethan knew how to cook. But it tasted like safety and normal and things that weren't corporate espionage, so she didn't complain. Lily talked nonstop about the birthday party, about the magician who'd made a rabbit appear and the cake that had been shaped like a castle. She made Sierra laugh with her descriptions, her gestures, the way she acted out the whole thing like a one-person play. After dinner, they watched a movie. Lily fell asleep halfway through again, curled against Sierra's side like it was the most natural thing in the world. Ethan carried her to bed, and when he came back, he sat close to Sierra on the couch. She missed you, he said quietly. I missed her too. Both of you. Then don't disappear again. I'm trying not to, but this thing with Delaney, it's not going away. Then deal with it, but deal with it while also having a life, while also being present for the people who care about you. Sierra turned to look at him. I'm not good at that. I noticed, but you're learning. He took her hand. And I'm patient. What if I mess this up? You will, probably multiple times, and I'll probably mess it up too. That's how relationships work. That's a terrible sales pitch, he laughed. I'm not selling you anything. I'm just telling you the truth. This is hard. It requires effort and communication and showing up even when you don't want to, but it's worth it. How do you know? Because being alone is harder. Sierra thought about her empty apartment, her silent weekends, the years she'd spent telling herself that work was enough. Yeah, it is. They sat in the quiet, the movie playing unwatched on the TV. Sierra felt the tension of the week slowly draining away, replaced by something steadier, calmer. Can I stay tonight? She asked. Actually stay this time, not just fall asleep accidentally. You can stay anytime you want. She ended up in Ethan's bed, actually in it this time, not on the couch. He held her while she told him more about the plan to trap Delaney, about her fears that it wouldn't work, that he'd keep coming after her company until there was nothing left. He won't, Ethan said into her hair. Because you're smarter than him, and you're not going to let him win. You sound very certain about that. I am. I've seen you work. You don't give up. Sierra closed her eyes, feeling the steady rhythm of his heartbeat against her back. What if he goes after me in other ways, personal ways? Like what? I don't know. You, Lily, things that matter. Ethan tensed slightly. Has he threatened you? No, but he's ruthless. And if he figures out that you and Lily are important to me, then he'll have made a mistake. Because I've dealt with worse than some corporate asshole. There was an edge to his voice Sierra hadn't heard before. What do you mean? I mean, Lily's mom didn't just leave. She tried to take Lily with her, fought me for custody, dragged me through court, tried to prove I was unfit. His voice was tight with old anger. I won, but it was a war, and I learned how to fight dirty when I had to. Sierra rolled over to face him. You never told me that. You never asked about my ex. I didn't want to pry. We're in bed together talking about corporate espionage. I think we're past prying. He brushed hair from her face. Point is, if this guy comes after the people I care about, he'll regret it. That's very protective. I protect what's mine. I'm yours? Aren't you? Sierra thought about pancake breakfast and cookie decorating and falling asleep on this couch, about the way Lily held her hand and the way Ethan looked at her like she mattered more than quarterly projections. Yeah, she said, I think I am. He kissed her, slow and thorough, and for the first time all week Sierra's mind went completely quiet. Sunday morning arrived with the smell of coffee and the sound of Lily singing off-key in the living room. Sierra woke in Ethan's arms, disoriented for a moment before remembering where she was. She checked her phone. 7 a.m., and already 3 work emails marked urgent. "Don't," Ethan said, his voice rough with sleep. "I have to. These could be important." "They can wait an hour." Sierra hesitated, then set the phone face down on the nightstand. 1 hour. They made it 45 minutes before the phone rang. Sierra's assistant calling from her personal cell. "I'm sorry to bother you on Sunday, but you need to see this." "See what?" "Check the business section. Herald Tribune, front page." Sierra pulled up the newspaper on her phone. The headline made her blood run cold. Apex Solutions under investigation for contract manipulation. The article detailed allegations that Apex had used insider information to win the Cordova account, that Sierra had bribed officials, that the entire operation was built on fraud and corruption. Every claim was sourced anonymously, nothing proven, but the damage was done. Just seeing it in print made it real. "This is Delaney," Sierra said, her voice shaking. "He planted this story." "What do you want me to do?" her assistant asked. "Get our PR team on it. I want a statement by noon refuting every allegation. And get our lawyers on the phone. If the Tribune doesn't print a retraction, we're suing for defamation." She hung up and immediately started making calls. Ethan got out of bed, closed the door so Lily wouldn't hear, and waited until Sierra finished her 3rd call before speaking. "What can I do?" "Nothing. There's nothing anyone can do. He's destroying my reputation in print." "Well, can you prove the allegations are false?" "Of course I can, but that doesn't matter. The damage is already done. Clients are going to see this, investors, competitors." She felt hysteria rising in her throat. "This could destroy everything." Ethan crossed the room and took the phone from her hand. "Then we destroy him first. We can't just, not with violence, with evidence. You said you were planning a trap, right? My lawyer hasn't approved it yet." "Screw approval. What's the plan?" Sierra explained the concept, creating fake contract information, making it accessible through deliberately weak security, waiting for Delaney to take the bait. "How long would it take to set up?" Ethan asked. "A few days, maybe a week." "Do it faster, today. Tomorrow at the latest." His eyes were hard. "He hit you in the press. You hit him where it actually hurts, in court with evidence of corporate espionage." "What if it doesn't work?" "What if it does?" Sierra looked at him, at the fierce determination in his face, and felt something shift inside her. She'd been fighting this battle alone, trying to handle everything herself. But maybe she didn't have to. "Okay," she said. "Let's do it." She spent the rest of Sunday on the phone with her IT director, her lawyers, and her security team. By evening, they had a plan. By Monday morning, they'd have bait. Ethan kept Lily entertained and away from the chaos. He made meals Sierra barely tasted, brought her coffee at regular intervals, and somehow knew when to leave her alone and when to pull her away from the work. Monday morning, Sierra was back in her office before dawn. Paul had created an entire fake contract proposal for a non-existent company called Titan Industries, believable enough to tempt, valuable enough to steal. They'd planted it in the system with deliberately weak security, made sure the digital breadcrumbs would lead straight back to whoever accessed it. Now, they just had to wait. The waiting was worse than the fighting. Sierra watched the security logs obsessively, checked the access reports every hour. The Herald Tribune had printed a lukewarm follow-up to their original story, noting that Apex denied the allegations but offering no retraction. Her phone rang constantly with clients asking questions, investors demanding answers. By Tuesday evening, she was ready to tear the office apart from frustration. Then Paul called. "Someone took the bait." Sierra's heart jumped. "When?" 20 minutes ago. They accessed the Titan files, downloaded everything, and we've got their digital fingerprint. Can you trace it? Already did. The access came from an IP address registered to Helix Corp's main office. Sierra felt a fierce satisfaction surge through her. That's not enough. We need to prove Delaney specifically authorized it. We've got something better. Whoever downloaded the files sent them to an email address. Want to guess whose? Tell me. Marcus.Delaney@helixcorp.com. Sierra closed her eyes, feeling the weight of vindication settle over her shoulders. Send everything to our lawyers. Every log, every access record, every piece of evidence. I want this airtight. Already done. She called her legal team, who confirmed what she already knew. This was prosecutable corporate espionage. With this evidence, they could file charges, seek damages, and prove that Delaney had been behind everything. We'll file first thing tomorrow morning, her lead attorney said. By noon, this will be public record, and the Tribune is going to have a much more interesting story to cover. Sierra hung up and immediately called Ethan. We got him, she said when he answered. Tell me. She explained everything, the words tumbling out fast and triumphant. Ethan listened, and she could hear the smile in his voice when he spoke. Told you, you're smarter than him. We're not done yet. The legal process could take months. But you've got proof. That's what matters. Sierra leaned back in her chair, feeling the tension of the past 2 weeks finally start to release. I should have told you about this from the beginning. Yeah, you should have, but you're telling me now. I'm sorry I shut you out. I know. Don't do it again. I'll try not to. Good enough for now. He paused. Lily wants to know if you're coming for dinner. Sierra looked at the pile of work on her desk, the emails still demanding her attention. Then she looked at the clock, 6:30 on a Tuesday evening. Yeah, she said, I'm coming for dinner. She logged off her computer, grabbed her jacket, and left the office before anything could stop her. The drive to Ethan's apartment took 20 minutes through rush hour traffic, but Sierra didn't mind. Her mind was clear for the first time in weeks, the chaos finally organizing itself into something manageable. Lily threw open the door before Sierra could knock. You came. I said I would. You say that a lot, and sometimes you don't. Sierra crouched down to the girl's level. You're right. I'm sorry about that. But I'm here now, and I'm going to try really hard to be here more often. Lily studied her with those serious brown eyes. Promise? Promise. Okay. She grabbed Sierra's hand and pulled her inside. We're making tacos. I'm in charge of cheese. Dinner was chaotic and loud and perfect. Lily dumped approximately half a pound of cheese on 3 tacos. Ethan told terrible jokes that made his daughter collapse in giggles, and Sierra felt herself relaxing into the rhythm of their life. After dinner, Lily showed Sierra a drawing she'd made at school, a picture of 3 people holding hands in front of a house. That's you, Lily said, pointing to a figure with dark hair. And that's Dad. And that's me. Sierra studied the drawing, her throat tight. This is really good, Lil. You can have it if you want, to put in your office. I'd like that a lot. Later, after Lily had gone to bed, Sierra and Ethan sat on the couch with glasses of wine and the comfortable silence that came from being around someone who didn't require constant conversation. The charges get filed tomorrow, Sierra said. After that, it becomes public. Delaney's going to fight back. Let him. You've got the evidence. He's got resources, money, lawyers who make mine look like law students. He's also got a pattern of dirty dealing that you're about to expose. Ethan took her hand. You're going to win this. How do you know? Because you don't know how to lose. Sierra wanted to believe him, but she'd been in enough fights to know that sometimes the people with the most resources won, regardless of who was right. What if he comes after you, she asked quietly. After Lily. Why would he? Because hurting people I care about hurts me. And he knows that now. Ethan was quiet for a moment. Then we'll be careful, but we're not going to hide. Maybe you should, just until this is over. Sierra. He turned to face her fully. I'm not running from some corporate psychopath, and neither are you. We're going to fight this together, and we're going to win, and then we're going to go back to arguing about whether Lily can have ice cream for breakfast. That's not a real argument. The answer is no. See? You're already thinking like a parent. The words hit harder than they should have. Sierra felt something bloom in her chest, terrifying and warm and utterly unexpected. I should go, she said, suddenly needing space to process everything. It's late. You could stay. Lily's here. That's different. Not really. She already knows you stay over sometimes. She does? She's 6, not blind. He stood, pulled Sierra to her feet. Stay, or go, but know that I want you here. Sierra looked at him, at the honesty in his face, and made a choice. Okay, I'll stay. They went to bed together, and Sierra fell asleep in Ethan's arms, thinking about drawings of families and promises made to small girls, and the dangerous, wonderful feeling of letting people in. Wednesday morning, her lawyers filed charges. By noon, every major news outlet had picked up the story. By 3 p.m., Marcus Delaney's lawyers had issued a statement calling the allegations baseless and threatening countersuits. Sierra expected it. What she didn't expect was the phone call she received at 4:30 from an unknown number. "Ms. Vale, this is Sarah Chen from Westbrook Elementary. We need you to come to the school right away. I think you have the wrong number. I don't have a child at Westbrook. You're listed as an emergency contact for Lily Cole." Sierra's blood went cold. "What happened?" "There's been an incident. Lily's okay, but her father asked us to call you. Can you come?" "I'm on my way." She grabbed her keys and ran. Sierra made it to Westbrook Elementary in 14 minutes, breaking at least 3 traffic laws in the process. She burst through the main doors and found the front office, her heart hammering so hard she could barely speak. "Lily Cole," she managed. "I got a call." "Ms. Vale?" A woman in her 50s with kind eyes stepped forward. "I'm Principal Morrison. Come with me." Sierra followed her down a hallway lined with colorful artwork and handprint turkeys. Her mind raced through terrible possibilities: accident, injury, something worse. The principal stopped at the nurse's office and opened the door. Lily sat on an examination table, legs swinging, holding an ice pack to her arm. Ethan stood beside her, his face tight with barely controlled anger. When he saw Sierra, some of the tension in his shoulders eased. "What happened?" Sierra asked, moving immediately to Lily's side. "I fell," Lily said, her voice small. "She was pushed," Ethan corrected, his tone sharp enough to cut glass. Principal Morrison cleared her throat. "We're still investigating the incident, Mr. Cole." "There's nothing to investigate." 3 kids cornered her on the playground, and one of them shoved her into the equipment. Sierra looked at Lily's arm, saw the angry red scrape running from wrist to elbow. "Why would they do that?" Lily's eyes filled with tears. "They said their parents told them my dad's girlfriend is a bad person. They said you steal things and lie, and that we should stay away from you." The words hit Sierra like a physical blow. She looked at Ethan, saw the fury in his eyes, and understood immediately. Delaney. He'd gone after her through a 6-year-old child. "Who were these kids?" Sierra asked, her voice deadly calm. "That's not information I can share," Principal Morrison said carefully. "The hell it isn't." Ethan's voice was low and dangerous. "Someone spread lies about Sierra that led to my daughter being assaulted, and you're protecting them?" "We don't tolerate bullying at Westbrook. The children involved will face consequences." "What kind of consequences?" "That's between us and their parents. Their parents who told them to target my kid." Ethan picked Lily up, cradling her against his chest despite her being too big for it. "We're done here. If I find out this happens again, we're pulling her from this school, and you'll be hearing from our lawyer." He walked out without waiting for a response. Sierra followed, her mind already cataloging the ways this could escalate, the dangers she'd brought into their lives by letting them get close. In the parking lot, Ethan set Lily down gently and checked her arm again. "Does it hurt, baby?" "A little. But I didn't cry." "You're allowed to cry when someone hurts you." "I know, but I didn't want them to see." Sierra knelt beside her, feeling guilt and rage war in her chest. "Lily, I'm so sorry this happened. It's not your fault." "It is, though. Those kids said those things because of me, because of my work." Lily looked at her with those serious eyes. "Are you a bad person?" "No. But someone wants people to think I am." "Why?" "Because I have something he wants, and he can't get it honestly." Lily considered this with the gravity of someone 3 times her age. "That's mean." "Yeah, sweetheart, it is." Ethan's phone rang. He checked the screen, frowned, and answered. "This is Ethan." His expression darkened as he listened. "When?" "No, don't touch anything. We're coming now." He hung up and looked at Sierra with something close to dread. "That was my neighbor. Someone broke into the apartment." The drive to Maple Street felt endless. Sierra followed Ethan's truck, her mind spiraling through worst-case scenarios. When they arrived, 2 police cars were already parked outside the building. Ethan carried Lily upstairs, Sierra close behind. The apartment door was open, a uniformed officer standing guard. Inside, the destruction was methodical. Furniture overturned, drawers emptied, papers scattered everywhere. But nothing appeared stolen, just violated. It was like this when I came to water your plants, the neighbor, an elderly woman named Mrs. Chen, explained. I called the police immediately. The officer took their statements while Ethan and Sierra surveyed the damage. Lily clung to her father, wide-eyed and silent. Sierra felt sick looking at the wreckage of their home, their safe space turned into a crime scene. Anything missing? The officer asked. Ethan checked the obvious places, TV still there, laptop still on the desk. I don't think so. It looks like they were searching for something. Any idea what? Sierra and Ethan exchanged glances. Files, Sierra said. Evidence related to a corporate case I'm involved in. And you think this is connected? I know it is. The officer made notes. We'll dust for prints, check security cameras if the building has them. But I'll be honest, break-ins like this are hard to solve unless we get lucky. What about protection? Ethan asked. Can you put extra patrols in the area? We can increase our presence, but we can't provide round-the-clock security. After the police left, Ethan started cleaning up while Sierra called her security company. Within an hour, she had a team en route to install cameras, new locks, and a full alarm system. Ethan protested the expense, but Sierra shut him down. This is my fault. I'm fixing it. It's not your fault some psychopath decided to terrorize us. Yes, it is. I brought this into your life. We've had this conversation already. He picked up an overturned chair, righted it with more force than necessary. You don't get to make decisions for us based on guilt. Someone pushed your daughter and broke into your home, Ethan. This is serious. You think I don't know that? He turned to face her, and she saw real fear beneath the anger. I know exactly how serious this is, but running away doesn't fix it. I'm not running away. Then what are you doing? Sierra didn't have an answer. She looked around the ransacked apartment, at Lily, sitting on the couch hugging Clover at the life she'd disrupted by being in it. Maybe you should stay somewhere else for a few days, she said quietly, until we know it's safe. Where, a hotel? My place. It's secure. Top floor, doorman, cameras everywhere. Delaney doesn't know about it yet. Ethan was quiet for a long moment. You're sure about this? I'm sure I can't protect you here, and I can't watch Lily get hurt again. He looked at his daughter, then back at Sierra. Okay, but we're not hiding forever. Just until we figure out our next move. They packed bags quickly, essentials only. The security team arrived as they were leaving, and Sierra gave them explicit instructions. Cameras on every angle, motion sensors, alerts sent directly to her phone. The lead installer assured her the place would be locked down tighter than a bank vault within 3 hours. Sierra's apartment was in one of the city's newer high-rises, all glass and steel and impersonal luxury. She'd bought it 2 years ago for the location and security, never bothering to make it feel like home. Now, watching Ethan and Lily walk into the sterile space, she felt embarrassed by how empty it was. It's not much, she said, which was a lie. It was plenty, just nothing personal, nothing warm. It's huge, Lily said, eyes wide. Can I see my room? Sierra showed them to the guest bedroom, which had a bed that had never been slept in and furniture she'd bought from a catalog. Lily immediately claimed the window seat, pressing her face against the glass to look down at the city. We're so high up, she breathed. 43 floors, Sierra confirmed. Can planes see us? Probably. Ethan set their bags down, looking around the room with an unreadable expression. This is really nice of you. It's the least I can do after... Don't! He cut her off. Don't apologize again. We're here, we're safe, and we're going to figure this out. Sierra wanted to believe him, but standing in her pristine apartment with this family she'd inadvertently put in danger, she felt the weight of responsibility crushing down on her shoulders. Her phone rang, her lead attorney. I need to take this, she said, stepping into the hallway. We've got a problem, the lawyer said without preamble. Delaney's team just filed a countersuit claiming you orchestrated the entire thing to frame him. They're alleging you planted the fake contract files specifically to entrap him. That's exactly what I did. That's how we caught him. I know, but they're spinning it as illegal entrapment, claiming you violated privacy laws and engaged in predatory business practices. Sierra leaned against the wall, closing her eyes. Can they make that stick? It's a stretch, but it'll drag out the case, and it gives them ammunition for the court of public opinion. What do you recommend? We push forward with our case and prepare for a long fight. But Sierra, this is going to get ugly before it gets better. It's already ugly. Someone broke into my boyfriend's apartment and terrorized his 6-year-old daughter. The lawyer was quiet for a beat. Did you report it? Police are investigating. Get me the case number. If we can prove Delaney's engaging in criminal harassment, it strengthens our position significantly. After hanging up, Sierra stayed in the hallway, gathering herself. Through the guest room door, she could hear Ethan reading to Lily, his voice steady and calm despite everything. The sound of it steadied her. She found them on his bed, Lily tucked under her father's arm, while he read from a book about a bear looking for a home. Sierra stood in the doorway, watching this small moment of normalcy in the middle of chaos. Ethan looked up and smiled slightly. Want to join us? She did. She climbed onto the bed on Lily's other side, and the girl immediately snuggled against her. They finished the story together, and when it was done, Lily yawned hugely. Can I sleep now? She asked. It's only 7, Ethan pointed out. But I'm tired. Today was scary. The simple honesty of it broke something in Sierra's chest. I know, sweetheart. I'm sorry. It's okay. You're fixing it. I'm trying. That's what my dad says. Trying is important. Ethan got Lily changed into pajamas and settled her under the covers. Sierra watched from the doorway, learning the rituals. Water on the nightstand, nightlight plugged in, Clover positioned just right under Lily's arm. Sweet dreams, baby girl, Ethan said, kissing her forehead. Love you, Dad. Love you too. Lily looked at Sierra. Can I have a hug? Sierra moved to the bed, gave the girl a careful hug that Lily immediately turned into a full contact embrace. When she pulled back, Lily was smiling sleepily. I'm glad we're here, she said. Your apartment is nice. I'm glad you're here too. They left the door cracked and retreated to the living room. Sierra poured them both wine, and they stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows looking out at the city lights. This is insane, Ethan said finally. I know. Someone is actively trying to hurt you by going after us. I know. And we're just standing here drinking wine. What else should we be doing? He turned to face her. Fighting back. Actually fighting back, not just legally. What are you suggesting? I don't know yet, but this guy clearly thinks you're going to play by the rules while he does whatever he wants. Maybe it's time to stop playing by the rules. Like what? Break into his office? Plant evidence? I'm not saying we do anything illegal. I'm saying we get creative. Sierra took a long drink of wine. My lawyer would have a heart attack if he heard this conversation. Then don't tell your lawyer. Ethan, Sierra, listen to me. He set down his glass. I spent 3 years fighting my ex-wife for custody of Lily. She had money, she had lawyers, she had a whole system designed to give mothers preference. And I won because I refused to roll over and let her control the narrative. Sometimes you have to fight dirty to protect what matters. What are you proposing? I'm proposing we find out what Delaney doesn't want people to know and we expose it, not through the courts, through the press, through his investors, through every channel that'll hurt him where he's vulnerable. That's risky. So is doing nothing while he destroys your company and threatens my daughter. Sierra turned the idea over in her mind. Everything in her training said to follow procedure, trust the legal system, fight clean. But Ethan was right. Delaney had already proven he wouldn't do the same. I'd need to hire investigators, she said slowly. People who can dig deep without leaving traces. Do you know people like that? I know someone who knows people. A consultant I used 3 years ago when a competitor was undercutting us. He found things that shouldn't have been findable. Call him. It's after 7. Call him anyway. Sierra pulled up the contact, Daniel Reeves, private investigator with a reputation for discretion and results. He answered on the 3rd ring. Sierra Vale, it's been a while. I need your help. How fast can you dig into someone's background? Everything, finances, business deals, personal life. Depends on the someone. How dirty are they? Very. Then probably pretty fast. Who's the target? Marcus Delaney, Helix Corporation. Reeves whistled low. You're not playing around. He broke into my boyfriend's apartment and went after his 6-year-old daughter. I'm done playing. Fair enough. I'll need a retainer and 48 hours. What am I looking for specifically? Anything that proves he's as dirty as I think he is. Financial irregularities, buried lawsuits, payoffs, NDAs, anything that would make his investors nervous. I'll start tonight. Check your email tomorrow morning. After she hung up, Sierra felt both relieved and terrified. She was officially fighting outside the lines now, doing things her lawyers would never approve. Ethan pulled her close. You did the right thing. How do you know? Because waiting for the system to protect you isn't working. Sometimes you have to protect yourself. They spent the evening in quiet conversation, planning, and strategizing. Around 10, they checked on Lily, still sleeping, breathing steady, and then retreated to Sierra's bedroom. I've never had anyone stay here, Sierra said, suddenly nervous. Never? I bought this place to work from home more efficiently. It's not exactly built for guests. Ethan looked around the bedroom. Expensive furniture, empty surfaces, nothing personal except a single framed photo of Sierra's parents. Do you ever actually live here, or do you just sleep here between work sessions? Is there a difference? Yeah, Sierra, there's a huge difference. She sat on the edge of the bed. I don't know how to live like normal people. I don't know how to have hobbies or routines that aren't about work. Then maybe it's time to learn. He sat beside her. What do you like to do when you're not being a CEO? Sierra tried to remember. I used to read before business school. What kind of books? Fiction mostly. Mysteries, thrillers, stories about people figuring things out. When's the last time you read one? Years. I don't know. I don't have time. You have time. You just fill it with work instead. She knew he was right, but admitting it felt like admitting failure. What about you? What do you do besides raise Lily and fix staircases? I build things. Little things, mostly. Toys for Lily, boxes, furniture. I like working with my hands, creating something from nothing. He smiled. It's probably why I'm good with renovations. Taking something broken and making it whole. Is that what you're trying to do with me? You're not broken. You're just really, really tired. Sierra felt tears prick her eyes. I thought I had everything figured out. I built a successful company, made more money than I ever thought possible, proved everyone wrong who said I couldn't do it. And then you showed up with your daughter and your simple life, and suddenly everything I built feels empty. It's not empty. It's just incomplete. What's the difference? Empty means it's worthless. Incomplete means it's still growing. He took her hand. You built something incredible, Sierra. Don't diminish that. But you can build other things too, a family, a life outside of work, things that matter in different ways. I don't know if I can. You already are. You let us into your life. You opened your home to us when we needed it. You're fighting for us. Kissed her softly. That's not nothing. They made love that night with a desperation that felt like gravity, like holding on while the world tried to tear them apart. Afterwards, Sierra lay in Ethan's arms, listening to his breathing even out, feeling the solid reality of him beside her. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. An email from Daniel Reeves, sent at midnight. Preliminary findings attached. You were right. He's dirty. Call me in the morning. Sierra opened the attachment, reading through page after page of financial records, shell companies, suspicious transactions. Delaney had been using Helix Corp to funnel money through offshore accounts, hiding profits from investors and likely dodging taxes. There were payments to individuals with criminal records, NDAs signed by former employees claiming harassment, and a pattern of corporate espionage that went back years. It was everything she needed to destroy him. She showed Ethan in the morning over coffee. He read through the documents silently, his expression growing harder with each page. This is enough to bury him, he said finally. It's enough to make his investors very nervous. But I need to be strategic about how I use it. What's the strategy? I leak it to the press in pieces. Start with the financial irregularities. That gets picked up by business outlets. Then the harassment claims. That's human interest. Then the pattern of espionage. That ties back to what he did to me. When do you start? Today. I've got contacts at the Tribune and the Business Journal. They'll run with this. What about the legal case? This supports it. Shows he has a history of exactly what we're accusing him of. Ethan was quiet for a moment. He's going to fight back hard. Let him. I've got ammunition now. I mean, he's going to come after you personally. After us. Sierra felt ice in her stomach. Then we need to be ready. They spent the morning implementing security measures. Sierra hired a security detail, 2 former police officers who would rotate shifts watching the apartment building. She had her assistant compile a list of everyone who'd had access to her office, her files, her schedule. She installed tracking software on her phone and computer in case Delaney tried to hack them again. Ethan picked up Lily from the guest room, where she'd woken confused but adaptable. They made pancakes together in Sierra's pristine kitchen, and she watched this man who'd entered her life as a business transaction teach his daughter how to flip them without making a mess. "Can we stay here forever?" Lily asked, syrup on her chin. "No, baby. Just until it's safe to go home." "When will that be?" "Soon, I hope." Sierra's phone rang. Detective Chen from the police department. "Ms. Vale, we've got prints from the break-in at Mr. Cole's apartment. They match a suspect with priors, petty theft, assault. We're bringing him in for questioning." "Does he work for Marcus Delaney?" "We're investigating that connection now, but I wanted to give you a heads up. If this does link back to Delaney, you might want to increase your security." "Already done. Thank you, Detective." After breakfast, Sierra made her calls. First to her contact at the Tribune, a business reporter who'd covered Apex Solutions before and owed her a favor. She sent him the financial documents, explained the context, and watched him get excited about a story that would make front-page news. Next, the Business Journal. Then a few strategic leaks to industry blogs and investor newsletters. By noon, the first stories were starting to appear online. By 2, Helix Corp's stock had dropped 4%. By 4, Delaney's lawyers were calling for comment, but Sierra's team stonewalled them. "How does it feel?" Ethan asked, watching the stock ticker on her laptop. "Like I'm winning. Finally." "Good, because you deserve to win this." Lily was drawing him the kitchen table, creating elaborate scenes of buildings and people. Sierra sat beside her, watching the careful way she colored inside the lines. "What are you drawing?" Sierra asked. "Your office. See? That's you at your desk, and that's Dad fixing a wall, and that's me helping." Sierra studied the picture, the 3 of them together in a space that had always been just hers. "I like it. You can put it on your wall, so you remember we're there even when we're not." The simple sweetness of it made Sierra's throat tight. "I will. Thank you, Lily." That evening, Sierra's phone exploded with messages. Investors demanding explanations, board members wanting emergency meetings, clients asking if the allegations about Delaney affected their contracts. She answered them all methodically, professional and controlled, even as her personal life sat in her living room playing board games. Around 8, Ethan put Lily to bed and returned to find Sierra still on her laptop fielding emails. "You need to stop," he said gently. "I'm almost done." "That's what you said an hour ago." "This is important." "So is this." He closed her laptop. "Spending time with people who care about you, being present, living your actual life instead of just managing it." Sierra wanted to argue, but looking at him, at the concern in his eyes, the care, she realized he was right. "I'm not good at this." "I know, but you're trying. That's enough." They sat together on the couch, and Sierra let herself lean into him, let herself be held. Outside the windows, the city glittered with a million stories, a million lives intersecting and diverging. "What happens when this is over?" she asked. "What do you mean?" "When Delaney's done. When the legal case is settled. When things go back to normal." "Do you want them to go back to normal?" Sierra thought about her old life. Silent apartment, endless work, no one waiting for her. "No." "Then they won't. We'll figure out a new normal." "What does that look like?" "I don't know yet, but probably something with more pancakes and fewer corporate psychopaths." She laughed despite everything. "That sounds good." "Yeah? Yeah." They went to bed tangled together, and Sierra slept better than she had in weeks. She woke to her phone ringing at 6 a.m. Detective Chen again. "Ms. Vale, the suspect we brought in talked. He was hired by a third party to break into Mr. Cole's apartment. We're still tracing the payment, but it leads back to a shell company registered to Marcus Delaney. We can't confirm that yet, but the circumstantial evidence is strong." "What does this mean for the case?" "It means we're opening a formal investigation into conspiracy to commit burglary and harassment. If we can prove Delaney ordered the break-in, he's looking at criminal charges." Sierra hung up and immediately called her lawyer with the news. Within an hour, They drafted a supplemental filing for the civil case, incorporating the criminal investigation. By mid-morning, every news outlet was running stories about Helix Corp's CEO under investigation for corporate espionage and criminal conspiracy. Delaney's stock dropped another 8%, but Sierra knew cornered animals were the most dangerous, and Marcus Delaney was very, very cornered. The attack came at noon. Sierra was in her home office on a conference call when her assistant burst in, face pale. "Turn on the news, Channel 7. Sierra pulled up the live stream. A press conference. Marcus Delaney standing behind a podium, looking grave and concerned. "I'm here today to address serious allegations that have been made against me and my company," he began. "Sierra Vale has engaged in a calculated campaign of defamation and harassment designed to destroy my reputation and my business. She has fabricated evidence, manipulated the press, and endangered my family with her reckless accusations." Sierra felt ice flood her veins. "But what's most disturbing," Delaney continued, "is that she's using her relationship with Ethan Cole and his young daughter as props in this vendetta. I have evidence that Ms. Vale hired Mr. Cole to pose as her boyfriend, that she's exploited a vulnerable single father and his child to create sympathy and distract from her own unethical business practices." The room spun. Sierra gripped the edge of her desk, watching Delaney produce documents, copies of her initial contract with the hiring agency, photos of her and Ethan from the hotel weekend, statements from unnamed sources claiming the relationship was fake. "This woman will stop at nothing to win," Delaney said, his voice full of righteous anger, "including dragging innocent people into her schemes. I'm calling for a full investigation into Sierra Vale's business practices and personal conduct. The public deserves to know who they're really dealing with." The press conference ended. Sierra sat frozen, her mind racing through implications. He'd twisted the truth just enough to make it damaging. Yes, she'd hired Ethan initially, but it had become real. Except now, no one would believe that. Ethan appeared in the doorway. "I just saw." "He knows. About how we met. About the arrangement." "How?" "I don't know. The agency? Someone at the hotel? It doesn't matter. He has proof that I hired you, and he's using it to destroy my credibility." Her phone started ringing. Reporters, board members, investors. She ignored them all. "What do we do?" Ethan asked. "I don't know. If I deny it, he produces the contract. If I admit it, everything I've said about him looks like a revenge plot. So we tell the truth. We explain that yes, it started as an arrangement, but it became real. No one will believe that. I believe it. You believe it. Lily believes it." He crossed the room, took her hands. "We tell the truth, and let the evidence speak for itself. The financial records, the criminal investigation, those don't disappear because our relationship started unconventionally." Sierra wanted to believe him, but she'd seen how public opinion worked, how narratives solidified. She'd gone from sympathetic victim to calculating manipulator in the span of one press conference. "This is going to get worse before it gets better," she said. "Then we get through the worst part together. He's going to come after you next. Your custody arrangement, your business, anything he can use." "Let him try. I won." He was referring to his ex-wife, she realized, to battles he'd already survived. "And I'll win this too." Sierra's lawyer called. "We need to issue a statement immediately." "Saying what?" "The truth. That while your relationship with Mr. Cole began as a professional arrangement, it evolved into a genuine romantic relationship, and that fact has no bearing on the evidence of corporate espionage you've presented." "No one's going to buy that." "Then we make them buy it. We present a united front, you, Mr. Cole, and the evidence. We show that regardless of how you met, Delaney is still guilty of everything we've accused him of." They drafted the statement together, Sierra and Ethan sitting side by side at her desk while her legal team worked on the wording. By 3 p.m., it was ready. By 4, it was posted to every platform. By 5, the media circus was in full swing. Talking heads debating her credibility, social media exploding with opinions, her company's stock fluctuating wildly. Through it all, Ethan stayed beside her. He fielded calls when she couldn't, made coffee when she needed it, and reminded her to breathe when the pressure felt crushing. At 6, Lily emerged from the guest room where she'd been watching movies, oblivious to the chaos. "I'm hungry," she announced. Sierra looked at her. This small person who'd somehow become central to her life, who trusted her, who'd drawn pictures of them as a family. "What do you want to eat?" Sierra asked. "Can we order pizza?" "Yeah, sweetheart, we can order pizza." They ate in the living room, the three of them cross-legged on the floor, because Lily insisted it was more fun that way. The news played on mute in the background, Sierra's face appearing over and over on different channels. But in this moment, eating pizza and listening to Lily describe the plot of the movie she'd watched, it felt almost normal. After dinner, Ethan's phone rang. An unknown number. He answered warily. "Mr. Cole, this is Officer Davies with Westbrook Elementary School District Security. We need to inform you that there was an incident at the school today." Ethan's whole body went rigid. "What kind of incident?" "Someone attempted to pick up your daughter, claiming to be authorized. We followed protocol and didn't release her, but we wanted you to be aware." "Who was it?" "A man in his 40s. He didn't provide ID when challenged and left quickly." Sierra watched the color drain from Ethan's face. "Description?" The officer provided details that matched no one Ethan knew. After he hung up, he looked at Sierra with barely controlled fury. "He went after my daughter, at her school." "We don't know it was Delaney. Who else would it be?" He stood, pacing like a caged animal. "He tried to have someone take Lily. To get to me. To get to you." Sierra felt something cold and final settle in her chest. This had gone beyond business, beyond legal battles. Delaney had declared war, and he'd chosen to fight it by targeting a child. "That's it," she said quietly. "I'm done playing defense." "What does that mean?" "It means I'm going to end this. Tonight." She called Daniel Reeves. "I need everything you have on Delaney, everything. I don't care if it's confirmed or just suspected. I need ammunition, and I need it now. I can have a full report in 2 hours. Do it." Then she called her lawyer. "The kid gloves come off. File a restraining order against Delaney citing the attempted abduction. Leak it to every outlet that'll cover it. Make him the monster he actually is." "Sierra, we need to be careful about escalation." "He tried to kidnap a 6-year-old girl. I don't care about escalation anymore. I care about ending this." She made 6 more calls to board members, investors, industry contacts. She explained what had happened, framed it in terms of Delaney's pattern of escalation, positioned it as a cautionary tale about doing business with someone willing to target children. By 8 p.m., social media had shifted. The narrative wasn't about Sierra's fake boyfriend anymore. It was about Marcus Delaney's dangerous obsession with destroying a competitor by any means necessary. By 9, 3 major investors had pulled out of Helix Corp. By 10, Delaney's lawyers were calling for a meeting. Sierra took the call on speaker so Ethan could hear. "Ms. Vale, my client is willing to discuss a settlement of all outstanding issues." "What kind of settlement?" "Complete mutual non-disparagement, dropping of all legal actions, and a confidential financial arrangement to resolve damages. In other words, he wants to pay me to shut up and go away. My client is interested in resolving this matter efficiently." Sierra looked at Ethan. He shook his head. "Tell your client," Sierra said, her voice ice cold, "that he tried to have someone abduct a 6-year-old child to intimidate her father and his girlfriend. Tell him that I have evidence of years of corporate fraud, harassment, and espionage. And tell him that the only settlement I'm interested in is watching him lose everything he built the same way he tried to destroy everything I built." "Ms. Vale, we're done." She hung up. Ethan pulled her into his arms. "That was incredible. That was terrifying. He's going to escalate again. Let him. We've got security, we've got evidence, and we've got each other." They checked on Lily, who'd fallen asleep on the couch. Ethan carried her to bed while Sierra stood at the windows, looking out at the city and thinking about the battle ahead. Her phone buzzed. An email from Daniel Reeves with a subject line that made her pulse jump. "You need to see this. Call me immediately." She called. "What did you find?" "Delaney's got a problem that's about to become public. 3 former employees filed sealed depositions in a harassment case 6 years ago. The case was settled with an NDA, but I found the lawyer who represented them. She's willing to talk, off the record, about what was in those depositions. And sexual harassment, workplace intimidation, and evidence that Delaney used company resources to spy on employees he considered threats. One of them was a pregnant woman he fired when she refused his advances." Sierra felt sick and triumphant in equal measure. "Can we use this?" The lawyer can't share the depositions without violating the NDA, but she can confirm they exist and hint at their contents. If the right journalist asks the right questions, I know the right journalist, send me everything you have. She made the call. The Tribune reporter who'd broken the financial story. I've got something bigger, sexual harassment, wrongful termination, a pattern of abuse that makes the corporate espionage look tame. Are you interested? Send me what you have. If it checks out, I can have it ready for tomorrow's edition. Sierra sent the files, then returned to the living room where Ethan was waiting. What now? He asked. Now we watch it all come down. The story runs tomorrow. By the end of the week, Delaney won't have a company left to run. And us? What about us? After this is over, after the smoke clears, what happens to us? Sierra looked at him, this man who'd entered her life as a transaction and become something she couldn't imagine living without. I don't know. What do you want to happen? I want you to move out of this sterile apartment and into a place that feels like a home. I want Lily to have her own room there, with her drawings on the walls. I want Sunday pancakes and weeknight dinners and fights about whether she can stay up late. He took Sierra's hands. I want a real life with you. Not an arrangement, not a performance. Real. That's a lot to want. Is it too much? Sierra thought about her empty apartment, her endless work, the years she'd spent building a life that looked successful but felt hollow. She thought about Lily's hand in hers, about falling asleep to the sound of Ethan's breathing, about feeling less alone than she'd felt in her entire adult life. No, she said, it's not too much. It's exactly right. He kissed her, and Sierra felt something inside her finally, fully settle into place. This wasn't about hiring someone to play a role anymore. This was about choosing to build something real with someone who'd seen all her flaws and wanted her anyway. They went to bed knowing tomorrow would bring fresh battles. But for tonight, wrapped in each other's arms while Lily slept safely down the hall, Sierra let herself believe they'd already won the only fight that really mattered, the one for each other. The Tribune story hit at 6 a.m., and by 7, Marcus Delaney's world was burning. Sierra read it over coffee while Ethan made breakfast and Lily colored at the table. The headline alone was devastating. Helix Corp CEO accused of years-long pattern of harassment and intimidation. The article detailed everything Daniel Reeves had uncovered, quotes from the lawyer representing the sealed cases, statements from former employees willing to speak anonymously about the toxic culture Delaney had created. By 8, Helix Corp's stock had dropped 15%. By 9, the board had called an emergency meeting. By 10, Marcus Delaney had resigned as CEO. Sierra's phone rang, her lawyer sounding almost giddy. He's out, completely out. The board forced his resignation and they're launching an internal investigation into his conduct. What about the criminal charges? Police are moving forward with the investigation into the attempted abduction. With his resignation and the public scrutiny, the DA's office is taking it seriously. He's looking at real consequences. And the civil case? His lawyers contacted us this morning. They want to settle, full admission of wrongdoing, substantial damages, and a permanent injunction barring him from any contact with you or your associates. Sierra closed her eyes, feeling victory and exhaustion in equal measure. Accept it. I want this over. You sure? We could push for more? I'm sure. I want him gone and I want my life back. After she hung up, Ethan wrapped his arms around her from behind. It's done? It's done. How do you feel? Sierra thought about it. Tired, relieved, like I can finally breathe. Good, because Lily wants to go to the park and I told her we'd ask you first. The park? Yeah, you know, that place with swings and slides where kids play? I know what a park is. I just haven't been to one in about 20 years. Then it's time. They went to the park, all three of them, plus the security detail that shadowed them at a discreet distance. Lily ran straight for the swings, demanding that Sierra push her higher, higher, until the chains rattled and the girls' laughter echoed across the playground. Sierra stood behind the swing, pushing steadily, watching this child who'd somehow become hers soar into the morning sky. Ethan sat on a nearby bench, looking more relaxed than she'd seen him in weeks. This is nice, Sierra said when Lily finally jumped off and ran to the slide. Just nice? Really nice. Is that better? It's perfect. They stayed for 2 hours, and Sierra realized she hadn't checked her phone once. Hadn't thought about work, about contracts, about anything except watching Lily play and feeling Ethan's hand in hers. When they got back to the apartment, there was a message from Detective Chen. The suspect who'd broken into Ethan's apartment had formally identified Marcus Delaney as the person who'd hired him. Combined with the attempted abduction, the DA was filing charges: criminal conspiracy, stalking, harassment, attempted kidnapping. "He's going to prison," Sierra told Ethan, showing him the message. "Good. He deserves worse." "Maybe, but this is enough." Over the next week, the pieces fell into place. The settlement was finalized. Delaney would pay Apex Solutions $3 million in damages, issue a public apology, and sign an agreement prohibiting any future contact or business interference. His criminal trial was scheduled for 6 months out, but his lawyers were already negotiating a plea deal. Helix Corp's board installed a new CEO and began the process of distancing the company from its founder's toxicity. Several former employees came forward with their own stories, and what had started as Sierra's fight became a much larger reckoning. Through it all, Sierra, Ethan, and Lily lived in Sierra's apartment. Slowly, the sterile space began to change. Lily's drawings appeared on the refrigerator. Ethan's tools found a home in a corner of the guest room. Sierra's calendar started including things like Lily's school play and dinner at home, alongside the business meetings. 2 weeks after Delaney's resignation, Ethan's apartment was cleared as safe and they could have moved back. But standing in Sierra's living room, now cluttered with toys and books and signs of actual life, none of them wanted to leave. "What if you didn't go back?" Sierra asked one evening after Lily had gone to bed. Ethan looked up from the work proposal he'd been reviewing. "What do you mean?" "I mean, what if you stayed here, both of you, permanently?" "Sierra, I know it's fast. I know we've only been together a few months, but I don't want to go back to living alone. I don't want to wake up in an empty apartment pretending I have a life. I want this." She gestured around the room. "The mess, and the noise, and the feeling like I'm part of something real." Ethan set down his papers. "Are you asking us to move in with you?" "I'm asking you to build a life with me, a real one." "What about work? Your 80-hour weeks?" "I've been leaving the office at 6 every day for 2 weeks. The company didn't collapse. Turns out I can delegate." "And what about Lily? She needs stability, routines. I can't have her getting attached to this life if you're going to change your mind in 6 months." Sierra felt the weight of that responsibility settle on her shoulders. This wasn't just about her and Ethan anymore. There was a child involved, a child who'd already been abandoned by one mother and didn't deserve to be disappointed again. "I won't change my mind," she said quietly. "I love her, Ethan. I didn't expect to, didn't plan for it, but I do. And I love you, and I want us to be a family, messy and imperfect and real." Ethan crossed the room and pulled her into his arms. "Lily's going to want her own room, with pink walls. I can do pink walls. And a dog. She's been asking about a dog. Let's start with the pink walls and work our way up to the dog." He kissed her, and Sierra felt something lock into place. A commitment, a choice, a future that looked nothing like the one she'd planned, but felt infinitely better. They told Lily the next morning over pancakes. "So we're not going back to our apartment?" the girl asked, processing. "We can if you want to," Ethan said carefully. "But Sierra's asking if we'd like to live here instead." "Forever?" Sierra nodded. "If you want to." Lily looked around the apartment, then at Sierra, her expression serious. "Can I paint my room?" "Any color you want." "And can we get a cat? I know Dad said maybe a dog, but I like cats better." "We can talk about a cat." "Okay." Lily went back to her pancakes like they'd just discussed the weather, not a major life change. Then she looked up again. "Does this mean you're going to marry my dad?" Sierra and Ethan exchanged glances. They hadn't talked about marriage, hadn't even really talked about what living together meant long term. "Would that be okay with you?" Sierra asked carefully. "Yeah, then you'd be my real mom instead of just my dad's girlfriend." The simple statement hit Sierra harder than any business negotiation ever had. "I'd like that." "Me too." Lily returned her attention to her pancakes. The matter settled in her mind. After breakfast, while Lily was getting dressed, Ethan pulled Sierra aside. "She's right, you know." "About what?" about us getting married. Eventually. When the time's right. Is that a proposal? No. That's going to be better, with a ring and a plan and probably fewer pancakes. He smiled. But it's a promise that this is real, that I'm in this for the long run. Even when I work too much and forget to call. Even then, as long as you keep trying. I will, I promise. The move happened gradually over the next month. They cleared out Ethan's apartment, brought his furniture and Lily's things to Sierra's place. They painted Lily's room a shade of pink that made Sierra's eyes hurt, but made the girl squeal with delight. They bought a dining table big enough for three, replaced Sierra's sleek modern couch with something more comfortable, and slowly transformed the apartment from a showroom into a home. Sierra's parents called when they heard about everything that had happened, the legal battle, the settlement, the relationship that had become real. "We knew," Margaret said when Sierra finally answered the phone. "Knew what?" "That it started as something else, that you hired him. Your father noticed the way you looked at Ethan that first night, nervous, like you were trying too hard. But we also saw the way he looked at you, and the way you looked at Lily. You knew, and you didn't say anything? We figured you'd tell us when you were ready. And honestly, sweetheart, we didn't care how it started. We just cared that you were happy." "I am happy, really happy. We can tell. When are we meeting our granddaughter officially?" Sierra looked at Lily, currently building an elaborate castle out of couch cushions. "How about Thanksgiving? You could come here. We'll cook." "You're going to cook?" "Ethan's going to cook. I'll supervise." Even better. Work settled into a new rhythm. Sierra hired a COO to handle day-to-day operations, promoted several key managers, and instituted policies that allowed her to actually leave the office at reasonable hours. The company didn't just survive her reduced presence, it thrived. Turned out when she wasn't micromanaging every decision, people rose to the challenge. She still worked hard, still cared deeply about Apex Solutions' success, but it wasn't everything anymore. It was just one part of a life that now included school pickups and family dinners and movie nights on the couch. 3 months after moving in together, on a Saturday morning in November, Ethan woke Sierra early. "Get dressed. We're going somewhere." "Where?" "It's a surprise." They dropped Lily off at her friend Maya's house for a play date. Then Ethan drove them out of the city. Sierra watched the buildings give way to suburbs, then to countryside, increasingly curious. "Are you kidnapping me?" "Technically, you can't kidnap someone who comes willingly." "Where are we going?" "You'll see." He pulled up to a property 30 minutes outside the city, an old Victorian house on 2 acres, beautiful bones but clearly needing work. The for sale sign out front had a pending sticker across it. "What is this?" Sierra asked as they got out. "I put an offer in last week. It was accepted yesterday." He led her up the front steps. "I wanted you to see it before we finalize." "You bought a house?" "I bought us a house, if you want it." He unlocked the door and they stepped into a foyer with original hardwood floors and a staircase that curved up to the second floor. "It needs work. A lot of work. But the structure's solid. I can restore it while we live here." Sierra walked through the rooms, seen past the peeling wallpaper and outdated fixtures to the potential underneath. There was a large kitchen with windows overlooking the backyard, a living room with a fireplace. Upstairs, 4 bedrooms. 1 for them, 1 for Lily, 2 for whatever the future held. "The apartment's too small," Ethan said, following her. "And it's mine, not ours. I wanted something we could build together, something that feels like a real home." Sierra stood in what would be the master bedroom, looking out at the land surrounding the house. She could see Lily playing in that yard, a swing set under the oak tree, maybe that dog or cat she'd promised to consider. "It's perfect," she said. "Yeah?" "Yeah." She turned to face him. "When can we move in?" 3 months? Maybe 4? Depends on how fast the renovations go. "Can I help?" "You want to help renovate a house?" "I want to learn. You keep saying I need hobbies that aren't work." Ethan pulled her close. "Okay, but if you paint anything the wrong color, I'm repainting it." "Deal." They spent the rest of the morning walking the property, planning changes, imagining their life in this space. Ethan pointed out which walls could come down, where they could add windows, how to restore the original character while making it functional for modern life. "We could have your parents stay here for holidays," he said. "There's room." And Lily can have friends over without us all being on top of each other. And you can have an office, a real one, not just a corner of the bedroom. Sierra thought about that, a space that was hers for work, but separate from the rest of her life. A way to keep the boundaries she'd never learned to maintain. I like that idea. On the drive back to pick up Lily, Sierra's phone rang. An unknown number, but something made her answer. Ms. Vale? This is Carson Wright. I'm calling from the DA's office. Sierra's stomach dropped. Is this about the Delaney case? Yes. I wanted to inform you personally that Mr. Delaney has accepted a plea deal. He'll plead guilty to criminal conspiracy and harassment. In exchange, the attempted kidnapping charge will be reduced to attempted child endangerment. He's looking at 3 years, likely serve 18 months. That's it? 18 months? I know it's not what you were hoping for, but it's a guaranteed conviction with no trial. He'll be a convicted felon, lose his business licenses, and be prohibited from holding any corporate officer position for 10 years. His career is over. Sierra thought about fighting for more, pushing for trial, making him pay fully for what he'd done. But she was tired of fighting, tired of letting Marcus Delaney take up space in her life. Okay, she said. Thank you for letting me know. After she hung up, Ethan glanced at her. Everything okay? Delaney's going to prison, not for as long as he deserves, but long enough. How do you feel about that? Honestly, I feel done, like I can finally close that chapter and move on. Good, because we've got better things to focus on. They picked up Lily, who was covered in paint from an art project and buzzing with stories about her playdate. On the drive home, Sierra listened to the girl chatter about her friend's new puppy and felt something she'd never expected to feel: contentment. Not the restless satisfaction of closing a business deal or winning a contract. Real contentment, the kind that came from being exactly where you were supposed to be with exactly who you were supposed to be with. Thanksgiving arrived with all the chaos of family holidays. Sierra's parents flew in and fell instantly in love with their granddaughter, spoiling Lily with gifts and attention. Ethan cooked a turkey that was only slightly dry, and Sierra made mashed potatoes that were lumpy but edible. They ate around a table that was too small for 6 people and laughed when the chairs didn't quite fit. Margaret pulled Sierra aside while they were cleaning up. You look different, she said. Different how? Happy. Really, genuinely happy. I haven't seen you look like this since you were a little girl. Sierra glanced through the doorway to where Ethan and her father were teaching Lily some complicated card game, all 3 of them arguing good-naturedly about the rules. I didn't know I could have this, she admitted. I thought I had to choose between success and everything else. And now? Now I know that success means different things. Building a company is one kind. Building a family is another. I was pretty good at the first one. I'm learning the second. You're doing better than learning, sweetheart. You're thriving. That night, after her parents had gone to their hotel and Lily was asleep, Sierra and Ethan stood on the apartment balcony, looking out at the city. Thank you, Sierra said. For what? For not giving up on me when I disappeared into work. For teaching me how to show up. For bringing Lily into my life. You did the hard part. You chose to change. We both did. She leaned against him. I spent so long thinking I had to do everything alone, be completely self-sufficient, never need anyone. And now I know that was lonely and exhausting and not nearly as fulfilling as I pretended it was. She turned to face him. I need you, both of you, and that used to terrify me, but now it just feels true. Ethan kissed her, soft and sure. I need you too. Even when you work late and forget to text. Even when you try to solve everything yourself instead of asking for help. I'm working on that. I know, and I love you for trying. Christmas came fast. They spent it in the apartment, just the 3 of them, opening presents surrounded by wrapping paper and chaos. Lily got the art supplies she'd asked for, plus a dollhouse from Sierra's parents that was currently taking up half the living room. Ethan got new tools and a book on Victorian restoration techniques. Sierra got a small velvet box that made her heart stop. She opened it slowly. Inside was a ring, simple, elegant, a single diamond set in platinum. I know we said I'd do this better, Ethan said, suddenly looking nervous, with a plan and a proper proposal. But watching you with Lily this morning, seeing you happy, I couldn't wait. He took the ring from the box and held it out. Sierra Vale, will you marry me? Lily was watching from the couch, her eyes huge. Sierra felt tears prick her eyes. Happy tears, the kind she'd never let herself cry before. Yes. Yes? Yes, I'll marry you. Yes to all of it. He slipped the ring on her finger and pulled her into a kiss while Lily cheered from the couch. Does this mean we're a real family now? Lily asked. We were always a real family, Sierra said. Now it's just official. They got married in March. Small ceremony in the backyard of the Victorian house that was still under renovation. Ethan had finished enough of the work that they could host 20 people. Sierra's parents, a few close friends, Lily's teacher, and some of Ethan's contractor buddies. Lily was the flower girl, taking her job so seriously that she counted out exactly 3 petals per step down the makeshift aisle. Sierra wore a simple dress and no shoes because the yard was muddy from recent rain. Ethan wore a suit he'd bought the day before and kept pulling at the collar. It was imperfect and chaotic and exactly right. Sierra's father officiated, reading from notes he'd written about finding unexpected love and building families from unlikely beginnings. When it was time for vows, Sierra found herself crying for the second time in 3 months. I spent my whole life building walls, she said, looking at Ethan, protecting myself, staying in control, never letting anyone see the parts of me that weren't polished and perfect. And then you showed up with your daughter and your honesty, and you didn't let me hide. You saw all the mess I tried to keep contained, and you didn't run. You stayed. And you taught me that the best things in life are the ones you don't plan for, can't control, and have to fight for every single day. I love you. I love Lily, and I promise to keep showing up, keep trying, and keep building this life with you. Ethan's vows were simpler. I promise to push you to leave work on time, to make you pancakes, to remind you that you're more than your job title, and to love you exactly as you are, driven, stubborn, brilliant, and mine. They kissed, and Lily cheered louder than anyone. The reception was potluck in the half-finished living room. Someone brought a Bluetooth speaker and played music from their phone. Lily taught Sierra's father her made-up dance moves. Margaret cornered Ethan's contractor friends and got them to promise to help install the new kitchen cabinets. Sierra stood in the doorway watching it all, this life she'd accidentally built from a lie that became truth. Happy? Ethan asked, appearing beside her with 2 glasses of champagne. Terrified and happy. Is that allowed? I think that's how it's supposed to feel. They moved into the house a month later. Boxes everywhere, half the room still needing paint. The kitchen functional, but not finished. It was chaos and disorder, and nothing like Sierra's carefully controlled life used to be. It was perfect. Lily started at a new school nearby, made friends quickly, and came home every day with stories and drawings and requests for playdates. Ethan worked on the house during the day and took side projects that interested him, no longer taking every job just to pay bills. Sierra cut her hours to 60 a week, then 50, then settled around 45 and found the company didn't collapse. She learned to cook 3 meals competently. She learned the names of Lily's stuffed animals and which bedtime stories the girl liked best. She learned to recognize the signs of an incoming asthma attack and how to handle them calmly. She learned that she could be good at things that had nothing to do with quarterly profits and shareholder value. 6 months after the wedding, Sierra came home from work to find Ethan in the kitchen looking nervous. What's wrong? She asked. Nothing's wrong, but we need to talk. Her stomach dropped. In her experience, nothing good ever started with, we need to talk. Okay, what's going on? He pulled out a folder from the drawer, set it on the counter. Lily's been asking questions about her mom. What kind of questions? Normal kid questions. Where is she? Why did she leave? Does she ever think about coming back? Sierra sat down heavily. They'd known this conversation would come eventually. Lily's mother had been absent for 3 years. No contact since the custody battle ended. What did you tell her? The truth, that her mom wasn't ready to be a parent, that sometimes adults make choices that hurt the people they love, that it's not Lily's fault. How'd she handle it? Better than I expected, but then she asked if you were going to leave too. Sierra felt like she'd been punched. What did you say? I said no, that you chose to be her mom, which makes it different, but I think she needs to hear it from you. Where is she? Upstairs, in her room. Sierra climbed the stairs to Lily's pink bedroom, knocked softly on the door. "Come in." The girl was at her desk, drawing. She looked up when Sierra entered, her expression carefully neutral, in a way that reminded Sierra painfully of herself. "Dad said you wanted to talk to me," Lily said. Sierra sat on the bed. "He said you had some questions. About your mom. And about me. I just wanted to know if you're going to leave like she did." The directness of it took Sierra's breath. "No, sweetheart. I'm not going anywhere." "How do you know?" "Because I chose you. Every day I keep choosing you. That's what being a mom means. It's not about biology or accidents. It's about showing up and staying and loving someone even when it's hard." "What if you stop loving me?" "That's not going to happen." "You don't know that. My real mom stopped." Sierra felt fury at a woman she'd never met, someone who'd abandoned this incredible child. But she pushed it down and focused on what Lily needed to hear. "Your biological mother made a choice that had nothing to do with you. You're smart and funny and creative and kind, and anyone who can't see that is missing out. But I see it. I see you, and I'm not going anywhere." Lily was quiet for a moment, then set down her crayon. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Can I call you Mom instead of Sierra?" Sierra felt tears burn behind her eyes. "I would really like that." "Okay." Lily went back to her drawing like they'd just discussed homework, not the most important question she'd ever asked. Sierra stayed for a while, watching her draw, feeling the weight and wonder of being someone's mother, not through biology, but through choice, every single day. That night, she told Ethan about the conversation. "She wants to call me Mom. How do you feel about that?" "Honored, terrified, like I better not screw this up." "You won't." "You don't know that." "I know you'll try. That's enough." A year after the wedding, Apex Solutions was thriving under Sierra's new leadership structure. She'd been named one of the city's top CEOs in a business magazine profile that focused as much on her work-life balance as her profit margins. The article included a photo of her, Ethan, and Lily in front of their Victorian house, looking like an actual family instead of a corporate headshot. Marcus Delaney was 6 months into his prison sentence, largely forgotten by the business world that had once considered him a player. Helix Corp had rebuilt under new leadership and sent Sierra a fruit basket when they landed a major contract, a peace offering she'd accepted gracefully. On a Saturday in November, almost exactly 2 years after that first weekend in the hotel, Sierra sat in the backyard watching Ethan teach Lily how to build a birdhouse. The yard was finally landscaped, the house was finished, and they'd adopted a cat named Pancake, who was currently sleeping in a patch of sunlight. Her phone rang. Her assistant. "I'm sorry to bother you on the weekend, but the Jensen contract just fell through. They're going with Helix instead." 2 years ago, this would have sent Sierra spiraling. She would have spent the entire weekend strategizing, calling contacts, trying to salvage the deal. Now, she took a breath and said, "Okay, we'll regroup Monday. Put together a meeting with the team and we'll figure out our next move." "You're not worried?" "I'm disappointed, but one lost contract isn't the end of the world. We'll survive." After she hung up, Ethan looked over. "Everything okay?" "Lost a contract. It'll be fine." "Look at you, not panicking." "I'm learning." "Yeah, you are." Lily ran over, brandishing a crooked birdhouse. "Look what we made." "It's beautiful," Sierra said. "It's kind of wonky, but Dad says that gives it character." "Your dad's right." They hung the birdhouse in the oak tree, and Lily immediately started a vigil to wait for birds to move in. Sierra and Ethan retreated to the porch with coffee, watching their daughter's determined patience. "I've been thinking," Ethan said. "About what?" "About expanding. The house, I mean. There's room to add on if we wanted." "Why would we need more space?" He looked at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. "In case we wanted to add to our family. Eventually. If you wanted." Sierra processed this. They'd never really talked about more kids, had been so focused on building their life together that the future had remained abstract. "Do you want more kids?" she asked. "I want whatever makes you happy. But yeah, I think I do. Someday." Sierra looked at Lily, still watching the birdhouse with single-minded focus. She thought about sleepless nights and diapers and all the chaos that came with babies. She thought about her career, her company, the balance she'd finally achieved. She thought about how full her life felt now compared to 2 years ago when it had looked perfect but been completely empty. Someday, she agreed, let's finish raising this one first. Deal. That night, after Lily was asleep, Sierra stood in her home office looking at the framed drawing on the wall. The one Lily had made that first weekend, of three people holding hands. It was faded now, the colors dulled by time, but Sierra kept it there as a reminder. A reminder that sometimes the best things in life start as lies that become truth. That the families we build can be stronger than the ones we're born into. That success looks different depending on what you value, and the most important achievements can't be measured in profit margins. She'd hired Ethan Cole to fool her parents for a weekend. She'd expected a transaction, clean and simple. Instead, she'd gotten a family. Messy and complicated and entirely unexpected. She'd gotten a life. And standing there in the house they'd restored together, listening to her husband moving around downstairs and her daughter breathing softly down the hall, Sierra Vale realized she wouldn't change a single thing. Not the lies that started it, not the chaos that tested it, not the choice to build something real from something fake. Because in the end, love wasn't about perfect beginnings or smooth journeys. It was about showing up, staying present, and fighting for what mattered. And this imperfect, beautiful life mattered more than anything she'd ever built in a boardroom. Sierra turned off the office light and went downstairs to find Ethan reading on the couch. She curled up beside him, and he wrapped an arm around her without looking up from his book. "Love you," she said quietly. "Love you too." Simple words, but they meant everything. Outside, the city lights flickered like promises. Inside, a family existed that hadn't existed 2 years ago, built not from blood or obligation, but from choice. From a single father saying yes to a strange job. From a CEO learning to leave work on time. From a little girl deciding to trust one more time. And from a weekend arrangement that turned into forever. The fake relationship was over. The real one had just begun.